Yeah, I'll have to go there again.
Exactly. Okay, you're the computer person too. A little bit.
Okay. All right, so you can do the thing and we will go to any if it wants to do that.
Allow us to do some.
In the settings, that is okay.
Welcome in, everybody. We'll be starting in just a moment. There is coffee and tea and hot water in the back. Feel free to help yourself, and we'll be started in just a moment. I appreciate you guys getting up early and being here on a Friday morning.
Thanks, Laura. You're amazing. So I'm Wendy Ann Leeds. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and for the purposes of today, a whole different sort of animal. We are all, everybody here doing this presentation. There's folks on Zoom that you've heard speaking in the background as we're working on our technical difficulties. Myself, Sasha, and Lori here are all survivors of what they refer to as the troubled teen industry. And we're here to talk to you about a bit about alternatives to residential treatment and a lot about impact. So as soon as we've got things together, we'll get started. I appreciate your patience. Yay. More people. That's all right. I think we are. Okay, so the only thing I don't know is, does that work? No, that does not work. What works for advancing the slides? Oh, the space bar. Space bar. Okay, cool. Yay. And we'll go back. All right, so folks on Zoom, thank you for your patience. People out there, thank you for your patience. So I introduced myself already. I only have a few slides for you because I want to yield back all the time possible to the survivors that came to speak to you today. So I start off with our agenda, me talking for about 10 minutes, and then you're going to hear from each of the survivors in turn. Who the heck am I? I work in private practice now. I've worked in pretty much all the settings you could work in. I worked in a program that was a community partner of the San Diego Family Justice Center with the children of the survivors of family violence. I've done mobile crisis response. I've worked in addiction medicine, and now I'm kind of a generalist, work with just everybody in private practice. Oh, and I also worked for a year for the Navy with active duty sailors and their families, just providing general counseling. So who are we? Why are we here? We're survivors of, people refer to it as the T.T.I, the troubled teen industry. At the end, I can either hand you out my card or you can copy down my email, really easy, wendyannleeds@gmail.com. And I would love to send a copy of this PowerPoint to as many people as possible because there's a billion links in it for more information. That Warehouses of Neglect is actually a U.S. Senate report. That was what they decided to title it after looking into the troubled teen industry, looking into specifically how much money was spent and what the outcomes were and how they found that they were just really very dismal. So I did find it very telling that that was the title there, especially considering that some programs. I was speaking to somebody yesterday who was telling me that some of the intensive group homes, the STR, yeah, those, some of them are up to $70,000 a month, which is heinous considering all of the harm that happens when you have kids in congregate care and out-of-home placements. And while group homes might be a good alternative, they also are a slippery slope to ending up in larger facilities. Facilities participate in benefits trafficking, where students or children and youth are sent to facilities far away from home where no one can feasibly visit them. It's kind of a mixed bag. A lot of us as survivors were sent by our families who paid cash, so they could visit us as often as they liked, if they wanted to at all. But a lot of the children sent by juvenile justice, child welfare, and school districts have families that are too poor to go and visit them if they're far away. I know that recently California decided to bring all their foster children back, but school districts are still sending kids everywhere. So then that leads us to who we are, the survivor movement. We're kind of a fractured movement because we're broken people and it's hard for us to get along, which is in one of my slides. So there's a whole lot of nonprofit organizations that have been started for survivors. There's one I left off the list, but I will add it before I send it out to anyone. One of the newest ones is pretty amazing, by another Jordan. We have a Jordan here with us today, and there's another Jordan who does just started a nonprofit for mutual aid. We're just helping people pay for things that are too broken to survive in our capitalistic society. So then I think that most of us, I realize that's small for folks in the back, but many of us have seen the docs. So raise your hand if you've seen any of these. The program on Netflix, Hell Camp on Max, Teen Torture Inc., which I think was also on Max. The Kids Are Not All Right is a new one that's out in film festivals. It's playing in the Dances with Films Festival in LA later this month. So anybody who's in Southern California, there's still tickets. I'm definitely going to be there. I put just one of the many things that are on YouTube, mostly because that's the beauty of YouTube, is if you go to any YouTube will tell you about everything else that's similar on YouTube. And then the last one at the bottom, Cruel Instruction, that one is a docudrama, but it's very similar to the program that I was at, which is Provo Canyon School. And I think they kind of also borrowed from a tragedy that happened at another school, and forgive me for not being sure.
Used the stories of two girls from Provo about 2 years before I was there.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought maybe it was another. I knew there was another program where a student had gastrointestinal problems and told staff over and over again that she was ill, and she died because they don't listen. Which I think is what the U.S. Senate was getting at when they talked about warehouses of neglect. It's once you start seeing the youth you're caring for as not people and liars, then it's very difficult to take care of their medical problems, which is definitely something I experienced when I was there. So red flags. So these are things to look at, especially if you have a loved one or a client or someone from your agency that does end up in or is currently in a residential program. One size fits all approach. All of the programs that we went to had them. Many of the programs that we went to are still operating. The one that I went to was the 60s and is still operating, Provo Canyon School. And they all have this one size fits all approach, which, how can that help anyone with serious mental health problems? If they have a level system, that's another big red flag. Restrictions on communication. This is a problem for two reasons. One is that it limits contact with family. It really keeps kids cut off. But also, most of these programs do not inform residents that there are advocates out there that they can report abuse to, and don't allow them access to telephones or even mail. Usually they will censor the outgoing mail so that students can't tell anyone what they're experiencing, which is terrifying. And most of them do that. programs with seclusion rooms, chemical or physical restraints. The chemical restraint problem can be insidious because it's very difficult to know for sure if someone's being chemically restrained. The physical restraint part is, I find super interesting. My children went to an elementary school that had a restraint chair in the office. That thing terrified me. Like, why the heck is that there? It's a regular public elementary school. So I think sometimes restraining kids gets to be normalized. I have a relative who was in a program in Leesburg, Virginia, and I visited him several times, and in the couple of hours that I was there each visit, a particular code was spoken into the overhead, and I said, "What is that?" And he said, "Oh, that means they're going to restrain somebody." And that happened every 20 minutes. And that program had restrained a child to death the previous year. So maybe we shouldn't restrain people. Maybe we should find a better way and actually teach crisis communication. That would be great. Forced religious participation. I don't feel like it was forced in my program, but also you didn't have a whole lot to do on Sunday if you didn't go to church. It was Mormon services. They had Presbyterian services on Thursday night. I could go be in a tiny room with a pastor and 3 of the boys if I wanted to practice my own religion. And then lack of communication to community and typically functioning, and it's cut off there, but it says peers. So that lack of access to friendships with typically functioning peers is, I think, one of the biggest ones. Like, how are you supposed to get better if everybody around you is struggling just as much as you are? And then that lack of graduated reentry into the community is also a big problem. I think most of the survivors on the Zoom would tell you that that they left a program and were brought right back to another program because they couldn't function at home after they had been in the program. And then many people end up not leaving until they turn 18, and then they have no survival skills. And everybody who's familiar with child welfare is familiar with transition age youth programs, but those don't generally exist for anyone who's not a foster child, of course. And so that's a big problem for everyone who ages out of the troubled teen industry. And so then the attachment harm lasts a lifetime. Most of us have anxiety, depression, PTSD. We also struggle with self-concept, giving and receiving feedback. That was something that Lori brought to my attention. I'm like, oh, that needs to be on the slide, because that's actually a trigger word for a lot of us, because these programs often use things that were created by Synanon. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Synanon and the game, but attack therapy is very much alive and well in the troubled teen industry, even if we don't call it that anymore. Frequently, students would be required to give someone feedback, and it wasn't kind. And so it's very difficult when you've been in that situation to be able to receive feedback as an adult, which leads to some of the other problems with relationships and employment, parenting. We struggle with self-management and self-advocacy, as these programs don't tend to teach people emotional regulation skills. They teach compliance and fear. So safer alternatives, intensive in-home supportive services, wraparound services. I know a lot of people in this room are very familiar with wraparound. Intensive parent training and support. It would be great if we could make that mandatory. A family-centered approach. If we could spend just a tiny fraction of that $70,000 a month on the children's birth family, that would actually solve a lot of problems. And then out-of-home care only for acute crisis, danger to self or danger to others. That ought to be very short-term. One of my jobs was working at Aurora Psychiatric Hospital in San Diego. And during the time that I was there, we had one foster youth who was there for, I think, 4 or 5 weeks because they struggled to find a new place for her. That shouldn't happen. But that should be the only time the kids are out of their house, is if they are actively a danger to themselves or others. And that danger can't be mitigated by some sort of support we can give them at home. The last resort things should be the things that are separated from family. Partial hospitalization, intensive outpatient programs should be what we try after we've tried intensive in-home services and they didn't help or didn't help enough. All right, so all the way at the end, there's a whole bunch of slides that I won't go over. But if you email me, then I'll give them to you. There's a lot of books and other links, including a link to that Senate report, and you can read it if you like. It's around 150 pages, but it's all good stuff. So I'm going to give it over to Sally now.
Hi, and I can't see the audience at all. How many people are here today?
Yeah, maybe about 30.
Okay.
Maybe about 30 people.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so my name is Sally Martin, and I am a licensed clinical social worker outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm also a survivor of the troubled teen industry. At the age of 14, I experienced a great deal of depression due to family issues. And my therapist, in her infinite wisdom, suggested that I could benefit from hospitalization. Feeling totally powerless in my home, I agreed. I just wanted to break from my parents, from my family, from my situation. And that was a mistake. I spent about a month in the Psychiatric Institute of Richmond, and then I was transported to another psych hospital called Charter Westbrook, where I spent another 2 months. They kept me for 90 days. Actually, I think it was 100, but anyways, but that was just until my insurance ran out. They wanted the full benefits of the money, of the payout. Once I was released, I was able to spend just about a year at home before things got too bad for me to stay home any longer. I was in therapy every week. My parents did not go to therapy, nor was their family therapy. And but things got so bad that my parents chose to rehospitalize me against my will. And I was there for about a month while they made arrangements for a long-term facility. At the age of 16, my parents took me from my home in Virginia all the way to a little town called Whitmore in Northern California, where I spent the next 2.5 years at the Cascade School. In the Cascade School, in case you haven't heard of it, branched off from the CEDU schools, which branched off from the cult Synanon that Wendy Ann spoke of. I think it's important to note that I spent approximately 3 years of my youth in congregate care only due to struggling with depression, anxiety, and family problems. I'd never been drunk. I'd smoked pot once. My virginity was still intact, and I was passing all of my classes. Currently, I have worked really hard to try to create a good life for my children and myself. I have a small private practice where I work with teenagers and young adults that have experienced trauma. I'm really good at my job because I have a unique and firsthand understanding of their struggles with trauma. In my free time, I engage in trauma therapy for myself as I continue to struggle with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Additionally, I present at social work conferences several times a year to discuss the ethical concerns about congregate care on adolescent development. I've chosen to go back to school to get my doctorate in social work. My main focus of study is the prevalence of CPTSD in survivors of congregate care. I've worked at many different types of congregate care programs, such as group homes, therapeutic boarding schools, wilderness therapy programs, and residential treatment facilities, all because they feel like home to me based on my experiences as youth. Having worked in private practice, having done my own trauma work, I recognize what I couldn't recognize before, is that congregate care hurts. It is not offering treatment. It is just warehousing children and, generally speaking, abusing them. And I say that with a caveat. While I was working in these programs and these types of facilities, I never saw children being abused. Never. Didn't see it. However, after the fact, in talking to various ex-students or ex-clients, I learned that there were so many things going on behind closed doors that I didn't know about. And so I really want to caution anyone working in congregate care with children, especially, that they really can't say definitively that that doesn't go on in my program. It's hidden very well. However, regardless if there's overt abuse or not, as a clinician, I believe that congregate care robs youth of the necessary developmental milestones to become happy, functional adults. As stated earlier, I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. As a general rule, I have excellent coping skills because of being a therapist and because of how long I have been in therapy. However, that does not change the weight of what I carry around with me. I have nightmares about my time in congregate care. I have intrusive memories. I have to actively fight my fight, flight, or flee impulses. When I was in congregate care, I was massively over-medicated, verbally abused, sexually abused, and psychologically abused. The issues within my family not helped. After 3 years of a therapeutic environment, one would think that all problems should have disappeared or worked through. However, putting me back in the same dysfunctional family with coping skills that only work for a cult environment did not help. What would have helped me would have been true family therapy, where the child was not automatically deemed to be the problem. True family therapy, where the family is worked on as a system to become more functional. If my parents were unwilling or unable to work on themselves and to better the situation, I should have been given the option to live with another family member or even a therapeutic foster home. Having successfully raised 2 adult daughters that are now in college and doing very well, I can definitively say I was not the problem. I will acknowledge that perhaps my adaptive coping skills to the family environment were uncomfortable for the family, but the family environment was the problem. I'm greatly concerned that child psychology continues to place the blame on children's psychopathology solely instead of looking at the environment, specifically the family issues. My hope is that as a culture, we can stop scapegoating our youth, housing them in unnecessary and harmful placements, and come up with better ways of addressing systemic family issues. Children deserve to be raised in family environments, period. And who is the next speaker? I don't have my list in front of me, Wendy Ann.
Thank you so much, Sally. Slides somewhere. There we go. Amy. Amy's up next.
I'm Amy. I was at 2 programs. I was pretty much just sent away by my aunt who was a therapist.
Amy, tell them what WASP is.
WASP is the Worldwide Association of Specialty Programs. They ran multiple therapeutic boarding schools around the US and in other countries. They had 2 facilities that I know of in Mexico. There was one in Samoa and Jamaica. And they're no longer, WASP is no longer together. They've disbanded, but a lot of them have moved on to other programs around. I've noticed it seems to be a lot in Utah, and WASP made all their money by marketing it as, oh, you have a problem child, we can fix them. Send them to us. We'll fix your kid no matter what the problem is. They offered pretty much a money back guarantee where when we went home, we were sent home on a contract. And if for whatever reason we weren't working and following that contract, parents could send us back to the WASP programs. And WASP was kind of notorious for abuse, mental, physical, sexual. There was a lot of abuse. And it wasn't even, by the time I was there in 99, it wasn't even behind closed doors anymore. It was in the middle of groups. Someone would say something that one of the therapists didn't like, and out of nowhere, they would just be taken down and dragged off to what they called isolation, which was just pretty much a 6-foot by 8-foot cinder block room. There were no chairs, no couch to sit on. You just sat on the floor until they deemed you good enough to let you out. And I had never, like Sally had said, I had never really been a problem child. I had always been really good in school, wasn't really argumentative until I hit my teenage years. And I mean, teenagers, as a mom to a teenager, they can not always be the easiest to deal with. And I don't feel that I was ever more out of control than any other teenager. I was diagnosed at 14, 15 with bipolar and ADHD. And recently, within the last 2 weeks, had met with a psychologist and was told that, you're not bipolar, you're autistic and you have ADHD. And I really feel like had that been addressed and dealt with when I was younger, I wouldn't have had all the problems in coping that I did. And then going to Cross Creek just made it worse. My most basic of needs weren't being met. I was from Indiana, and my mom was legally blind, so she couldn't easily come visit me at any time. They didn't even really tell me I was going anywhere. My aunt and my mom told me we were going to Las Vegas for a weekend, that my uncle was on a business trip there. And we were met at the airport by a man and a woman that I was told were coworkers of my uncle's. What I know now is they are what is commonly referred to in the troubled teen industry as escorts. These are people that are paid to come in and take children, take them from the airports, take them from their beds in the middle of the night, take them from school, take them from anywhere they are. If they think that the child might fight back in any way, that's where the escorts come, and they will use force. They will use any means necessary to get a child to a program. I was zip tied My wrists were zip tied, and I was put in the back of a car with two strangers. I had no idea who these people were. My mom and my aunt didn't know these people other than finding them on some like website. I don't really know the process of how people go about finding these people that are willing to take, like, essentially legally kidnap children. And they told me as they zip tied my wrists, they said, we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way. And that was that. They didn't tell me anything. We drove from Las Vegas into Utah, and they just dropped me off at Cross Creek with more people I didn't know to be strip searched, treated like an absolute criminal. They don't really even explain when you get to these programs, like, what's going on. It's just immediately the narrative is shoved down your throat that you're a problem child. You are the problem. Nobody else can fix it. It's because you're broken. You're garbage. And they just continue that the entire time you're there. And threaten, when I was there, it was the threat of another facility that was a WASP program called High Impact that was in Tecate, Mexico. I had been at Cross Creek for over a year, and I wasn't making the progress that they thought I should be making. And so they made the decision to have me taken in the middle of the night, again by escorts, and driven down to Mexico. I remember we got to the border and they told me, just lay down in the back seat and pretend to be asleep. And they took me into Mexico and left me at High Impact. And I was there for, I believe, about 8 months. And the majority of the time that I was there, I was in what they called timeout, which was just a 6-foot by 6-foot chain link cage, essentially. You just sat there. If you heard one of the staff yell "Suelo," you knew someone was about to get taken down. And they were a lot more brutal with the restraints when I was in Mexico than when I had been in Utah. Like, I had my shoulder dislocated multiple times. I had over a 300, and I would say he was about 350 pounds, holding me down, face down in the dirt, elbows bent up to the point where I could grab my own ponytail, legs folded up. And they would just hold you like that as long as they wanted. I remember one time Miguel sat on my back and sang "Row, row, row your boat" in English and Spanish while I was telling him, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. Being told, well, if you can talk, you can breathe, you're fine. And there was, I would say that I saw a lot more physical and sexual abuse while in Mexico. I ended up turning 18 while I was in Mexico, and I was given an exit plan, which was $20 and a bus ticket from San Diego to San Bernardino. And that was that. And after that, I was just kind of on my own. I had been in programs since the time I was 16 until 18. I had no valuable life skills. I had no coping skills. I had no education. The education system in these programs is oftentimes not fully accredited. And like, absolutely nothing. And I was just thrown out into the real world after being in these places and had nothing, had no money, had no plan for my life. And I truly feel that had I been properly diagnosed as a younger child, had they done more family therapy, had somebody just listened to me and actually heard me, it would have been a lot more beneficial than going to Cross Creek or being sent to Mexico. There's really nothing good that comes from isolation and keeping kids from their families.
Absolutely. Thank you, Amy. Next, we have Lori.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Okay. I'm Lori Tartar. I am a board certified behavior analyst, and I'm licensed in a few different states. California doesn't have licensed or just certification. And I have a doctorate in clinical psychology. I finished all my postdoc hours. I just have to take the licensing exam, and I'll be a licensed psychologist hopefully by the fall. And yeah, thanks. And my original plan before going to the Cascade School, the same school as Sally, she was actually they call older student, meaning she got there before me when I was new there. And we were there for about 6 months together. And I originally planned to be a medical doctor. That was my dream going from a child going into college. And life took a little different pathway when I went to the Cascade School. And so here I am now. I do love what I do, but it's a different path than I expected. So I currently work with a lot of adults that have co-occurring mental health diagnosis and developmental or intellectual disabilities through the regional center. And I've also worked at a residential group home where a lot of this, or actually all the students were funded by the school districts, the 504 IEP plan. And then some of them had county funding too. They got placed there out of home, or few were in foster care, but a lot were placed out of home from their parents through the school districts or county. And ironically, we had a staff member that ran the location that was a previous staff member of CEDU, which was previously mentioned, which was one of the therapeutic boarding schools established from Synanon and then CEDU and then Cascade School. So she ran the school, the therapeutic element of that residential group home, which was a level 12 group home. Very similar to how the program was at CEDU. They would have different groups each week and these therapeutic experientials. And it was very punitive. And when I came in to run one of the homes, I tried to take more of a positive reinforcement approach, knowing I was a behavior analyst, really looking at behavior. I try to take a little different approach, knowing how it felt being a student that went to a Cascade or similar to CEDU, and try to use more research-based techniques. But there was a lot of resistance from the higher ups. So a lot of the red flags that Wendy Ann mentioned, such as the locked room and the restraint room, that was definitely a red flag at this program. Speaking from my own personal experience, I went to the Cascade School when I was 15, a week after my 15th birthday. I was originally enrolled in CEDU when I was 14, managed to talk my parents out of it before I went, and promising I would behave myself when I got home, and I will fully own my own behavior in our family dynamics. I was a good student. If you talk to all of my teachers and my friends, my parents liked all my friends They didn't have a problem with any of them. We didn't sneak out at night or do drugs, or I didn't sleep around, anything like that. All my issues were solely at home. Even my best friend had no clue what was going on and there was any issues at home. And all my behaviors happened solely at home. I would skip school. Yet my grades were always good, and I got good student awards at school for behaving so well at school. And but at home, it was a very different picture. There was a lot of fighting, a lot of arguments, a lot of meltdowns on my end based off of the dynamics. I was often the scapegoat within the home, and I had a therapist describe me as the barometer of our house. And she actually was one of the helpful factors for me. She did discuss family systems theory and kind of the dynamics, but one of the difficult challenges was that she didn't really implement that therapy within our system. She just discussed it with me, making me feel a little more normal and not like the crazy one of the family. And instead of helping change the dynamics within the family. So I ended up going off to the Cascade School because it was still chaotic within our family system. And the night before I left for the therapeutic boarding school Cascade, I asked my parents, is something going on here? So something just seems off. And I just had that gut feeling something seems strange. I skipped school the day before. My parents knew. I did it actually mainly that was the one thing I could control. And it bothered them that I wasn't consistently at school, even though my grades were fine. And which I understand now from an adult perspective, that is problematic. And my mom took me shopping, out to lunch, which I thought was really odd considering I just skipped school, and woke up the next morning, was getting ready, and they had an escort service there to take me away to the Cascade School. They told me to change. My parents would bring my things, and they could do it the hard way or the easy way. And the hard way would be me in handcuffs the whole way up. And it went, I guess, smoothly to the point where I heard them tell me or tell the other people we met once we got to the Reading airport, we have no idea why we were even hired. She did fine the entire flight and the entire time. And so they passed me off to another couple. I had no idea whether or not I was still in California. I actually knew that we were at the Reading airport, which I had no idea where that was. But I looked it up later in a encyclopedia at the school to see where Reading was, to see if I was still in California or not, because no one would answer that question for me. And I ended up staying there for 2.5 years. And I could have finished the program after 2 years and gone home. But the school talked my parents into the extra 6 months. It was an easy out-of-pocket payment for them. And they paid out-of-pocket for the entire program. And I was told it would be easier to transition back to a regular high school beginning of the year rather than mid-year, but it ended up basically just isolating me over the summer. There was no good transition plan. I did not have a driver's license since I was away from 15 years old to 17 and a half years old. And I was back with my parents, and we only had 10-minute phone calls every 2 years. And I basically had no family therapy with them, and I got placed back into the same exact situation as I was prior to the school. My sister was off at college, but the dynamics basically were the same with my parents and I. So there was no family therapy, no real great communication. I was basically taught the attack therapy. And that ended up not helping me later on. So I know I'm running out of time here, so I'll focus on kind of what would be helpful. I think from my perspective now in the mental health field and the behavior analytic field, one thing looking back on experiencing all this would have been helpful to have more of like a family systems approach. And I know my parents were those parents that would have been really difficult to work with, a challenge that wouldn't want to change, didn't see any of their part in what was occurring. But it's interesting now, I could actually explain my behaviors as a teenager to my mom through the behavior analytic lens. And we actually kind of laugh about it now. I think using more of parenting strategies and really working with the parents and the whole system would have been helpful. I attended the Mnuchin Center summer intensive training for 2 years or 2 weeks several years ago. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, this would have been so helpful for my parents as like the challenging clients for a therapist. From a therapeutic perspective, I think that would have been helpful as well. That little time out, kind of a therapeutic foster program would have been helpful, safe place for me to go cool down and have my parents have a break from me too, would have been helpful. And then that therapy addressing the whole unit rather than just the teenager behaviors would have been helpful. But from a therapist perspective in the group homes, I think really looking at the staff qualifications, who's running the therapy sessions, how often are they having family therapy, and then what kind of approaches are they taking at that residential program would be helpful. Is it just restraints and milieu therapy, or is it actual individual therapy that's occurring, and how often would be helpful?
Thank you, Lori. Yeah, even the coping strategies they're teaching to kindergartners now, the social emotional learning that a lot of kiddos are getting according to the California state standards would have been really helpful for all of us. Attack therapy definitely doesn't teach us anything we can use in the real world. I would add to if no other placement can be found for a child or youth, Lori said, how often is family therapy happening? I think that families should have to show up every day, every single day, because family-centered is the only way that things are going to get better. That's one part of all of our stories is the struggles with our families as we're continuing through the life course. And if our families had to show up and be a part of what we experienced, things would have been a lot different. And one thing I forgot to mention too, at the end, if you want to come up, I brought a whole bunch of survivor stories. That's another thing that's in the PowerPoint is even more survivor stories, people who have actually published their experiences in the T.T.I. So anyways, on to Sasha.
Hi, home before he sent me off. But I was paid through the IE system. I was abused further at Provo and all these other places. I experienced sexual abuse there as well. Was an easy target. I had got worse in my eating disorder actually in the program because I had lost all control. I went down to a weight in the 60s pound range, which they allowed. And eventually their management was to forcibly tube feed me and then strip me and place me in OBS, which was the isolation, for days. And there was a drain in the floor for the bathroom. And it's very dehumanizing. And thankfully I did get transferred from some sort of tax law. I don't know exactly. They didn't tell me. The transporters or escorts or whatever, same people that took me from the mental hospital in handcuffs to Provo, showed up again at 1 a.m. that night and took me to Montana in a very long drive. I experienced conversion therapy because in my school report that my school psychologist put, he did record that I was bisexual and I was gender questioning at the time. Wasn't sure, but you know. So I was 14 years old and I spent 3 years in programs in various ways. And I did eventually stop self-harming for a while, but when I got back home, I started up again. And to be honest, my family situation wasn't great. And I probably should have not been in either parent's custody. And a therapeutic foster home would have been really wonderful. I did actually experience a little bit of that when I was at one of the programs in Oregon. They had a system with families out in the community where if you were high enough in the program, you could actually live with one of the families. Sometimes this was bad. Sometimes this was good. I got lucky with a great couple. I saw normal family dynamics for the first time and was confused. I just remember them celebrating my 16th birthday more than my family had celebrated my birthdays. And so I struggled when I got out. I did actually get out at 17 because it was through my IEP and I graduated high school. And as soon as you graduate high school, it's over. So I got my diploma in the mail afterwards. I struggled going back into school, into once a week therapy with no aftercare. And my dad was gone every other week for work. So I was alone and I did not know the social skills that I needed to. I was already kind of awkward in the first place because of my childhood and then didn't get better. And I made a mistake and trusted somebody from my eating disorder support group, which I had found, and it was a grown man, and he ended up assaulting me. And so I fell back into my old behaviors because I had no coping skills to deal with that. I went into, I got underweight again because my eating disorder reared its ugly head. And I did have a suicide attempt again. And I entered a hospitalization, actually eating disorder medical hospitalization that I credit with saving my life because I was 87 pounds at the time. I was 18 years old on my own. And they had actual medical supervision. It was through Columbia Center for Eating Disorders, which is actually part of Columbia Medical School. And that I spent 3 months and it was free because I participated in research. So that was pretty amazing. And addressing the eating disorder from a medical point of view was necessary because of refeeding and because it was so dangerous for me because I was underweight. And I was too underweight for outpatient, but my insurance wouldn't pay for anything. So I did do that. I was there 3 months. I got weight restored, and they actually started to address my eating disorder as a result of me trying to find control over my body because of my history of sexual abuse from the ages of 8 to 14 years old, and then further at the programs. And that was really the first time someone had actually addressed that as the root of a lot of my issues. And I'm doing pretty well. I did not go to college like I wanted to, but I'm back in school now, in my 30s. And hey, it's a little odd, but I do okay. And I'm a good student again. I did have issues with permanent disability physically as well. So I have Ehlers-Danlos, and I've been through a lot of surgeries. And so there was a part where I couldn't work as well because of my physical in addition to my mental health. But I can tell you that getting out of the bad family environment was really what I needed, not the torture that I received at places. I eventually met my husband actually at a college class and married him fairly young and moved out. And I haven't had a suicide attempt since 19 years old. So, and I haven't struggled with my eating disorder, and I do not self-harm anymore. So amazing what happens when you actually take the child out of the abusive environment. They start to get better. It really would have been simple, but so I thought therapeutic foster homes would be a really good option. Unfortunately, there aren't very many of them. People don't sign up for them. And I don't think, people get approved for that very often. And so there's a lack of resources. It would have been lovely to stay at least in my community or my state instead of somewhere. The conversion therapy filled me with a lot of shame over my identity. And I was a Christian at that time. I lost my faith in God because honestly, at that time, I believed God hated me. And they made it pretty clear that I was disgusting to God. And I did find my own faith later on, but to repair those, spiritually the harm, physically the harm, I was locked in a bathroom for a punishment because I didn't clean the chrome spots off well enough off of a faucet. And so they locked me in the bathroom, and they mixed cleaning chemicals that they called cleaning soup. And it was mixing ammonia and bleach. And the thing was, I had to clean the bathroom with it locked and no ventilation for 5 minutes. And I did end up getting really sick and vomiting, and I was on sick bed for about a month before they finally took me to the hospital, and they told me I had permanent lung scarring. My contact with my family was once a week, 10-minute phone call with my therapist at Provo, and they cut it off anytime I tried to tell anybody anything. The letters were censored. There was no access to a phone. There's nothing, even if there are advocate numbers or ombudsmans or whatever, you don't have a phone to access. And my father also controlled who I was allowed to mail. So I wasn't allowed to mail any of my friends, and even cut me off from some of my family, like my stepmother, because they were divorcing. I had my stepmother in my life for 10 years, but because they were divorcing, my dad decided that was a privilege I didn't earn. I didn't talk to my siblings for 3 years, which was really hard. And I remember they brought the cops to the program where I was when I finally told them about the sexual abuse, and they made me report. And then the cops just laughed at me and said that no mother would sexually abuse their daughter, which it does happen. Again, short-term hospitalizations would have been good for me, as well as a therapeutic foster home, and maybe even a group home, or like at least in the community where you can see your family, where you can stay at your school, because school was my refuge. I have always been a straight A student. I'm kind of a nerd. But I hope that, I did need help, but I didn't get help. I got shame. I got physical restraints. I got 600 milligrams of Seroquel a day, which if any of you know, for like a 90-pound 14-year-old was probably not the greatest. So, and then I got in trouble for falling asleep during the day. And that was in the 2000s, and Provo is still open by the same company. I know that some of them, the other survivors, some of the same companies don't own the programs anymore, like W.W.A.S.P and everything. But no, UHS still owns Provo, the program I was under. So the first one. And then
It was Charter Behavioral Health when I was there, was buying it from the original owners.
yeah, so it switched ownerships, but oftentimes places open up different names, but the same staff, the same facility. They do that. But they haven't, I mean, they're kind of the OG, so they haven't changed. And unfortunately now, because there is more awareness, because we have been speaking up, now it's mostly foster youth and IEP students that get sent there because the parents who can pay don't want to go to Provo because of negative press. But you have even fewer people who can check in and advocate for you on if you're in those positions. And I think I saw my dad 3 times during those 3 years. And I tried my best. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I didn't hear the alarm. I forgot to set it. I'm so sorry. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I hear that's actually how we got CEDU shut down, was Yelp. That's how they got CEDU shut down, was Yelp.
Yay for Yelp.
Bad Yelp reviews shut CEDU down, which is pretty amazing. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem that Yelp is going to take down Provo. Next, we have Jordan.
Okay. I'm Jordan Von Erickson. When I was 16 years old, I got sent to Spring Creek Lodge Academy in Thompson Falls, Montana. Before then, I was looking back on it, I was just a regular teenager. I was experimenting a little bit with weed, a little bit with alcohol, sneaking out, but what teenager doesn't? Not trying to. I definitely needed some help. I was definitely going through some trauma, but I feel like I was just being a normal teenager mostly. So I got sent there, tricked by my parents. Drove me up there one morning, and I got there, and pretty much I spent my first year there in between solitary confinement and what they called study hall, which was essentially you write sentences. So depending on the rule infraction, you get 1,000 sentences. You know, if you staff correct it, you get like 2,500 words or whatever, and you have to write the same sentence over and over again, and or whatever they want you to do. Like I won't spit in the trash, or like I won't leave food on my plate, or I won't look out of line at a girl. Rules against everything. So I spent my first year in between solitary confinement and that place study hall. Um, I was there 22 months total. Um, Witnessed a whole lot of trauma to the extent that even to this day, like I blocked out a lot of stuff. A lot of really messed up stuff that I'm now finding out. I got out of the program and I got straight into hard drugs. I spent about a decade of my life on hard drugs, on the street, homeless, in between homeless encampments, pretty much anywhere I could lay my head. It's honestly a miracle that I'm even alive right now. I say all the time that I probably shouldn't be here right now, considering all the stuff I've been through and all the close calls I had. So when I got I got clean about like 4 years ago. I lost track of how long it's been. It's been like over 4 years or something like that. But got clean and I decided to make the Straight Outta BS podcast. Um, Started finding these groups online and realized that there was like platforms, but they were kind of like tailored to individual programs. So I was like, why don't I make a podcast that's just a platform for anybody that's went through one of these programs, anybody that's, and later on I expanded into like just abuse of all kinds and stuff like that. But right now we're focusing on the troubled teen industry, so I'll talk about that. That's the channel's main focus. I've done over 176 interviews with people. Um, and honestly, I think what would have helped me the most would probably just be there was a couple things. I wanted my family to I wanted to feel like I was actually protected by my family, and that's like kind of difficult to explain, but I was raped when I was 7. There's a lot of trauma that led up to maybe some acting out later on, like nothing too bad, but acting out nonetheless. And I didn't really feel protected by my parents using that rape as an instance. I wanted them to be like, nobody's ever gonna hurt you again, and I'll protect you and stuff. And what ended up happening was, the person that did it said they didn't do it, and that's all there was to it. They didn't look into it any further. So stuff like that. Just I wanted my family to feel like they were protecting me. A lot of tension, a lot of arguing in the home, maybe like a lot more family counseling, but it's difficult for me because we did get some family counseling. And I think that I also have brain damage. I'm kind of like a difficult like thing to kind of pinpoint. There's a lot of things going on with me, but I have brain damage, and so maybe it was difficult. Sorry, I'm like going like side to side with this thing, but I don't really know like what to say. Just better family dynamic. Um, and just feeling protected by my parents and just counseling maybe. I honestly don't know what would have helped me. I just know that being sent away made things a whole lot worse and could have actually resulted in my death. Like I'm lucky to be alive right now. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much else to say on that. That being said.
Thanks so much, Jordan.
Yeah.
All right. And we're on to Jennifer. And you had a slideshow. So do you want me to stop sharing and you want to start sharing?
Well, I'll introduce myself first. Can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you. You're small, but we can see you.
Hi. I'm Jennifer Corson. I'm an artist and muralist from Los Angeles. I can't see my intro anymore, so I'll just put the slideshow on. Can you see what I'm doing? Hold on, share screen.
Put it back on our slideshow. Our tech person is hurrying up here to fix it.
It says I'm sharing screen, so I'm not.
You are sharing screen. Yeah, it's just not on the big projector yet.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Hit escape.
Me?
Hang on. I want the screen on. Sorry. Yeah, yeah. Of course. Let's go. There we go. Okay, you're good, Jennifer. You're on the screen now.
Okay. Hello, my name is Jennifer. I am an artist and muralist from LA, and this is an art presentation that I added some relevant T.T.Is to. So I'm going to start with my work and then tell you about my life. I'm an artist in every sense of the word. I've been using my art to heal myself and work with others to kind of do the same thing. I've been an artist since I was a child. It's always been really important to me to be expressive and just kind of a drive that I've always had. When I was 6 years old, my mom passed away from cancer, and my life kind of started to go downhill. There wasn't really space for me. I was obviously a little bit different, and I just wasn't really fitting into life very well. I was intelligent, but I had just lost my mother. I had lost my grandfather. I was going through puberty. There were just so many reasons I was always in trouble, but I didn't really understand why. I just wanted to be myself. But when I was 13, I ran away. I felt like I needed to be out of that house. I felt like I was just a terrible person. And if I didn't save myself, then nobody would. So after I ran away, I was sent into a charter hospital program. And from there, I was sent to CEDU. Is there a way I can switch? Well, never mind. Sorry. I was sent to CEDU, which is an abusive boarding school based on the Synanon cult. I was not a bad kid. I had a single father who was not equipped to be raising children who did not want children. And I went from the gifted program to special education within 6 years. If it wasn't for my art as an outlet, I would not be here. And that's 100% true. But I'll show you. So this is in Pershing Square in Los Angeles. It's one of the oldest parks there. This is a 500 square foot mural that the city commissioned me to create. It's all done with spray paint, and it was up for, I want to say like a year. Here's a bunch of other murals I've done, different places. The heart is kind of a symbol that I use to communicate with the world in really every way. It's something that I think brings us together, and everybody can relate to it. And through that, I relate to the world. I've never fit into the world. I've never had a normal job. I'm an artist. And this heart is anatomically incorrect. It's based on a mistake. And I just kind of decided to go with it and turn that into a brand. And it's been pretty good. I've done interactive art in all different places with different communities. This art's a symbol for the people that are a little bit different, for all of the reasons that we do and don't fit in together. I've presented at big art fairs. I've been in magazines. I've had big shows that the city funded. I've sued Marvel. My art's been stolen by Pokemon and put on magazine covers without my permission. And with my permission. I see these things and I sometimes don't relate to it. I have complex PTSD. I feel like an extra person most places that I go. Going to the grocery store is a bigger deal to me than driving across the country, basically. But activism and discovering like this movement and that what I went through was not school was key. So there's some of that activism over the last few years, Paris and going outside Island View, my program in Utah. This whole time, I really just needed to be myself and be able to create. And I was punished for that. This is a project that I did about the Me Too movement. It's survivor stories collected anonymously in templates. And I use that a lot in my art to kind of encourage conversation and obvious things. So let me see how I can get off this share screen. You see me? So what am I didn't set my timer. I'm so sorry. Oh, am I good?
I set a timer for you. Yeah, you left it with 5 minutes. So that gives 5 minutes for Rachel.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'll go ahead.
Oh, I love your art, Jennifer. I always have to say that. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel. I got sent to the Hyde School in Woodstock, Connecticut from summer 05 to 08. I'm not going to get too deep into that because I do want to speak more about my life as an adult and what I do for work and what I see can, at least help keep kids safe as far as being in programs. But at my program, during my time there, I witnessed numerous forms of every type of abuse: psychological, emotional, mental, educational, labor, sexual, you name it, it happened there. It was under the guise, they're a private boarding school that go under the guise of being a college prep school. They do not market as a behavioral modification school in any way. They claim to be the parenting experts. It was founded by a family by the name of the Gald family. They have numerous ties to other charter schools in other states. Every single place associated with them has, sexual assault allegations against the kids. So that's basically that program in itself. It encompasses basically everything everyone else has said, from the punishments to the outcasting to, the isolation in its own way. We didn't have designated areas. It was kind of like a college dorm campus setup. Um, but as far as that goes, that place was a boarding school that had its own wilderness program. So, unbeknownst to my parents, they would shuttle me up to their Eustis, Maine property in Maine. And because of my behavior or my perceived behavior and attitude, they would often send me up there under the guise of, obviously changing my behavior or leadership development, which was I didn't buy into their character education program. I was there for high school. I needed to finish high school, get my diploma, and become an adult. I did not need to work on my character. I was fine. I'm from New York City. I live in the Bronx. I'm rough around the edges and I'm not going to be everyone's favorite person. I'm well aware of that. But I was a kid and I was there for school and I was denied going to class because of my perceived behavior. So that's that place in a nutshell. Fast forward to adult life now. I work as a New York State peace officer for the past 6 years. I work in a forensic max security psychiatric hospital. So our demographics include court-ordered civilians and the criminally insane of New York State that are, criminally charged and therefore psychiatric reasons to be stabilized, to become mentally competent to stand trial for their crimes. Now, with all that being said, we do unfortunately have to do lawful restraints on the human body. And pertaining to that topic, I will state this: being a survivor from a program that did not entail that exactly, but knowing that it does exist, there is no excuse for anyone other than law enforcement to ever be putting their hands on a human body. And at that, they should have current, up-to-date annual in-service trainings that stay up to date with state laws. As far as, we don't do knee on back in New York State anymore. If you get caught with your knee remotely close to someone's back or in an inappropriate place, you're getting put out on administrative leave immediately until that investigation is solved. There is no room for abuse in my facility. We are 24/7 audio and video monitored. Anytime that any of the demographic patients or residents have a complaint of whatever kind, they have the right to call themselves a completely separate agency called the Justice Center. That agency comes in, does a completely outside investigation, and based on their findings, either someone gets terminated, loses their job, or something is done. But it is not us that do it. It is completely outside, and it is for the purpose of giving those patients the security that their care is in their hands and that they do matter and they do have a voice. Any place that has minors in its care needs to abide by the exact same rules. And if it doesn't, it does not need to have minors in its care. These places that run rampant under the guise of these legal loopholes and gray areas, I'm currently in litigation, and the amount of just legal jargon wording that is required to get them on something is ridiculous, because they don't claim to be therapeutic. They don't let it be known that they do all these things, but they do them anyway. And you can't bring a case against them because they didn't market themselves that way. That is absolutely ridiculous. As an adult, I should not be considering, due to all my trauma at this point in life and not having medicational, results give me a quality of life impact, I should not be considering going to the same lengths of taking my patients to ECT. I have to take my patients to ECT. But for me and myself and my clinical diagnosed PTSD and depression, and the fact that medication gives me no relief whatsoever, and I become medication resistant very quickly, I'm considering doing transcranial magnetic stimulation myself. It is not as extreme as ECT is, but it is something akin to it. And that is very extreme for someone like me to even consider doing, seeing as I take my own patients to it daily. No adult that goes through these programs should be left to deal with that and navigate that after being told they were going to be helped as a teen. And at that, there should be absolutely no excuse to get off the hook for recourse as an adult to get the help that we need, because it is so hard to find. I have yet to find a consistent medication management prescriber that I can go to that can medicate me properly to give me the needed results in my life. so I can continue functioning and working my 80-hour work weeks and doing what I do for a living, because I can't go back to school. I can't get a degree. The school literally doesn't exist anymore. My branch, my boarding school got closed down. They left absolutely no archives. And through this litigation that I'm in, I found out bank records don't even keep records past 7 years. They bank on that because I obviously can't pull up evidence that I ever paid tuition or went there, because it doesn't even exist anymore. They knew all of this, and that's why these private places with kids in their care should not be allowed to get away with that. We have the justice system, and we already have the mental health system. If it needs to be privatized, it needs to be law enforcement officers dealing with kids, because there should be no type of physicality otherwise. Sorry, I guess that's kind of those were my points in a nutshell. I tried to get everything in there all at once. I know I was short on time.
Thank you so much, Rachel. So Rachel was our surprise guest that that we added just about an hour before we started. And I'm really glad that we did, because she had a lot of powerful things to say. At this point, we've got like 6 minutes left. And I know that they're planning on closing in this room. So, but anybody that wants to stay until they kick us out, we're here for questions. So I'm going to come down with my microphone. And does anybody have any questions from anybody in the group? I know it's kind of a lot, but that's it. She said, thank you for sharing. No, we have, oh, yay, question.
Hello, thank you guys for sharing your stories. I was wanting to ask for any advice for, we are a provider of wraparound in Sacramento, and I am overseeing a lot of programs that are expanding, which I'm really excited about, and wanted to know any advice you all would have for our teams around trying to support youth, especially our youth who are in foster care currently, who are not able to return home. We are still trying to support with family seeing and seeking, kinship, if not able to go back home to their families or not safe to go back home to their families, but kind of advice for the team to support youth, because sometimes I worry that the youth who are afraid of connecting with families or entering resource homes would prefer to go to like STRTPs, maybe because they are seeking structure or community in that environment. And I know it's a little bit different in California for some of the STRTPs, but still, I think a lot of the concerns you all have expressed and the worries around that. So just what should we as WRAP providers be trying to support youth with when they're trying to kind of make that decision? Because I think that's something that they don't have experience in a lot of time. They haven't been to an STRTP. So just from your experience, how we could best support.
I just have a question. For New York State, would that be the same as kind of like an SRO, like mental health housing program?
Are you talking about wraparound or STRTPs?
STRTPs, I guess, like when pertaining to like when if they want to like go somewhere.
So STRTPs are the short-term residential treatment programs. So that was kind of California's change in the system around not having just straight group homes, but requiring that the residential facility provide things like psychiatry services and mental health services as part of the short term, and it's intended to be shorter term, so no more than 6 months. And wraparound is a type of service that we try to provide in the home, in the community, to families, try to wrap around services to the whole family. But a lot of our youth who end up in STRTPs and maybe end up coming back into wraparound will go to an STRTP if they're not able to find a kin placement or a resource home for them. And some youth, because of their trauma and fear of attachment, not wanting to go into a stranger's home, will decline to go to resource homes when they do find some. So just things to like help youth consider when they're needing to make that decision to try to support them.
So one of the things.
Well,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Well, that's a great question. And since my last placement was a STRP level 12 in California, I figure that could be some of my wheelhouse. I think what's important for wraparound is, of course, the communication with your family, but also the sense of normalcy of going out into the community, maybe little trips. Obviously, school support is a huge one. But to not just think about their mental health, but also their physical safety and activities, keeping kids busy, to be honest, sometimes can help and going out, and especially group activities, because that can help you get the interaction that you need. And check-ins, definitely, if they are going to a family, frequent check-ins, because from what I've learned from a lot of foster youth is that they feel that no one listened to them if something bad is going on and once they're in that environment, they're like, especially because most of them have a history of not being listened to in the first place about abuse. And so that prior experience goes forward, and you have to make it known, hey, if you tell us something, we're going to act on it. We're there for you and have that access.
Yeah, I would ask also to add to what Sasha said. I work with adults now, and we also have supportive housing communities, which are, transitional living residences. So basically, what those are supposed to be for our residents that unfortunately, become adults that are formerly traumatized teens. One of the biggest things that I could say that I see every day, daily, coming across, because we have to do rounds over there, make sure they don't have weapons, nobody's, acting a fool, causing harm to anyone, just making sure everything's going, day to day how it should. One of the biggest complaints and compliments that I personally receive from residents is being personable, being approachable, being that person that they know no matter what, I can ask whatever I think is the stupidest question in the world. I know I can go to this person. So that's one of the big things I see at my job is rapport building definitely plays a very intricate part in even helping people find the right resources. I can't tell you how during COVID, how many residents I taught how to wear a mask properly when I'm just an officer walking in to do rounds occasionally. I'm not the floor staff that are supposed to be supporting, their living skills. Actually having staff that care and take their job seriously day to day and go to work to do that job is really part of the most intricate part of trauma informed care and how to help these kids not become these adults that still have to depend on facilities and institutionalized living as almost a revolving door because they just can't do it on their own. That's what they need. They need almost like role models to show them how not to become that person. What do I do in this situation? Who do I call in this situation? How do I go about finding this info? Things like that, like teaching kids how to be independent and also have their best interest and then be their own best advocate. I think instilling that in kids will drastically keep the amount of civilians as adults out of these facilities as like, just a revolving door.
I think helping the clients how to communicate effectively and be heard. Like I know you need somebody there to hear you, and being that staff that can't hear the clients, but effectively communicate by more responding rather than reacting to other people. I think that's a big thing that I find that I work on with clients too. And then also how to regulate their emotions, because a lot of these clients have been through a lot of trauma, have had a lot of people in and out of their lives in different settings. We've all been through a lot of trauma in our settings. And at least from my experience, I felt like the communication piece wasn't taught, and then how to regulate our emotions weren't taught. And I think that might be helpful too for them to become effective adults later on in life as well.
That's the part that I found was that's the part I found the most shocking is, I lived in this program. I lived in a couple of hospitals for 6 months before the program. I lived in the program for a year. And it wasn't until I was, 35, 40 that I could actually start to use the coping strategies that they should have taught me there because I lived there. They had me all the time. You'd think that I would have learned something, but no.
I was gonna say, no incentives for the number of kids they have in the program because that just encourages them to have the maximum amount of kids to make the most money possible. I don't think that that should be a thing. I don't think that's a healthy environment for any kind of program. Um, I also feel like they need to have a number, like some kind of reflecting what somebody else said earlier, that they can just call that's not connected to the facility, that is not paid by the facility, that is so they can have complete transparency. The kid needs to be able to talk to somebody if they're experiencing abuse. I also said random inspections they can't just prepare ahead of time for. And I think the guardian should be able to show up unannounced whenever they want to the facility to see their kids as well.
And then if I can go back to the question from the audience member, as far as how to sort of entice kids to want to go into therapeutic foster care, to use those wraparound services versus going into a group home. I think it should become part of the culture to talk about, that this is part of the, program to prison pipeline because people are more comfortable in that environment. And so, let them know, like, okay, homie, like it's time to work on this. It's time to try to become more comfortable in a more typical, home-like environment. As well as I think that, social service programs can do a little bit better job because it's really scary to say, okay, do you want to do this or that? And you have no idea what the home life looks like. And so if we could, slow it down and say, okay, these are the people, we want you to meet them. We want you guys to go to Burger King together, or is Burger King still a thing? Or, we want you to, have a meal together to meet these people to see if you can jive, to see if like the vibe is good and that you feel comfortable, and to start forming a relationship so that it's not just, boom, this is your new life, that you know nothing about, because that is really scary and overwhelming. I don't think even as adults we would want to do that, so to ease into that situation, could be very helpful in trying something new.
I also had one more quick thing. I feel like if a child gets sent to one of these places, there also needs to be a reintegration portion of that program or their stay to help them reintegrate into society, like i.e. like job training, something that they can take out into the real world and actually apply. If they need to get an ID, get them an ID, help them with the process. If they need food stamps, help them get on food stamps, stuff like that.
Yeah, I would definitely say it needs to be more like individual centered as well. Like get to know the individual and see what they want or even imagine for their life and go from there kind of thing. You can't just make
Yeah.
it a one size fits all program based around attitude or character or these buzzwords.
Yeah.
I just want to mention real quick on the question about the group homes. I did actually, there was a part of the STRP that I did appreciate, which is that because everything was out of workbooks, you were self-taught. I had some classes I needed to take to finish high school that I couldn't self-teach. And they actually allowed me to go to the local college and take a few classes. And that allowed me to interact with normal people, not normal, but you know what I mean? Like people who weren't struggling as much as I was. And that was helpful. And it definitely made me happy. Also, yay, Sacramento. Sorry, I'm from there too.
I just thought of this too. I would also like, if at all possible, somehow make it mandatory that like parents have to include themselves in their child's lives, even if the child is at this point. Or, maybe because I think about my dad taking me to the courthouse. He works in a family court in New York, and getting to talk with the court officers there, while he's in a trial or something, getting the experience to be around accomplished people, not just people that are struggling as well, to give that kind of an inspirational, like, hey, you're doing this right now, but look what you could be doing. Are you interested? Like something that
Yes.
brings some sort of future with light to it, not just surrounded with similar struggle and it looks like there's no way out because no one else is doing it around you.
There's a question. Oh, one more question. I don't know. I don't know if the folks on Zoom can hear you if you don't have a
No,
mic.
we didn't hear that. I couldn't hear it at all.
Yeah, I couldn't.
So I work more with the parents, and so a lot of them are desperate parents, and it's really difficult to get their head wrapped around where it's like, I just need help. I don't know what to do. My child is lost, and they're failing in school. Their behaviors are out. You know, they're aggressive, and it's just not. They feel helpless, right? And so they're alternative. We just had one recent one that took their child to Tijuana, to Mexico, and so it is because she couldn't get the services here where they would actually every time she would call they wouldn't do a 5150, but it's that desperate parents. What would you say to those parents that they feel that are trying to save their children?
I also work at a mobile crisis team 3 days a week, and we do get parents that often expect us to show up and 5150 their child and take them away that afternoon or evening. And from both perspectives, and I do in my own work coaching of parents too, from the behavior side, I try to reassure them and reframe things and let them know, like, okay, we'll try to stabilize them. Here are some tools to use. It's not going to change it overnight. And here are some things you could do right now in the moment, and give them that like first step to kind of stabilize that day. And then let them know, hey, here's an eventual second step, and let's link you to these services and give them some support. Here are some resources for community supports and therapist or behavior supports that could help support not only the child or the teenager, but support the parent in their parenting. And let them know it's not going to happen right away. Let's focus on safety first. And then, is the child safe? Are you safe? And then move on from there. A lot of parents that, at least from my experience, have been in that panic mode. And I'm kind of probably the age my parents were when they sent me off to the school. And now I can kind of see things maybe a little more from their perspective, that panic mode of like, okay, what are we going to do right now? And let's just ship them off. And that unfortunately doesn't fix them, any of us, long term. And just reassuring, at least for me, reassuring those parents, like, let's focus here now. Here's the first step. Here's a second step we'll support you with. You're not going to be alone. We'll support you with linking you to these, and then take it from there. At least that's my perspective of what to do in the moment.
And if I could add to that, I think it's really important that parents understand that they are the structure that's either going to make or break a bad situation. So if they don't have the skills to de-escalate a bad situation, then that is the problem. We can continue to hospitalize these kids. We can continue to rescue them, with the police or doing whatever. But if the parents are not going to learn the skills necessary to help their child through a bad situation, then ultimately, like, what do we got?
Yeah, and just to add to that, I would say that again, pertaining to my job, a majority of the adults that their families don't visit anymore are those people that started young with the whole idea of just dropping them into someone else's hands and not doing the work in home. That's never going to be the answer, because that just sets that as a pattern. If you're always looking outside of your own family and what you can do for your own child, you cannot help your child. You're the parent. You need to, like, ideally, in an ideal world, every parent would start this young in childhood, mental health check-ins every week. Let's have a family meeting and sit down and talk about everything going on in our lives. That needs to start and be ingrained from young, so kids are not repelled at the point of being teen where it's hormonal. It's natural that we're going to be aggressive sometimes. We're going to be loud. We're going to be obstinate. We're going to have these moments. We're going through major changes in life. But that is not the point that you say, I can't handle this as the parent anymore. Raise your hands and drop your kid off somewhere. That's the point that you need to dig your heels in and do the work to talk to your kid and find out what is going on here. Let's talk about it. I'm here for you. Taking away that show of support automatically takes away the best case outcome.
Also, I'd like to chime in. Sorry if I have it too close. I think it's important to emphasize to those parents, this won't save them. I'm sure many of us can tell you the number of people that we know who have been through these programs, and a lot of them die by suicide. A lot of them get into hard drugs, crime. It doesn't save them. In fact, I'm pretty sure that you're actually more likely to die of suicide or drugs having gone through these than if you tried it at home, even with going in and out of the hospital, even with that, because you're just adding trauma. And
yeah, there's a reason that the first book on my list was Dead, Insane, or in Jail, the CDU story, because that's what they tell parents. If you take your kid out of our program, you're going to end up dead, insane, or in jail. And I think right now the percentage is 20%. 1 in 5 of us is going to die a premature death because of our trauma.
I was going to say,
due to overdose or suicide.
Wendy, I hope you did get that deceased list just for mine alone. We're up to 200 names, and a majority of them are overdose suicides. That place didn't help anyone. And anybody that says it saved their life, they need lifelong treatment after for that saved life. That's not a quality of life.
I think we also live in such a different world now. And
we do have one more question. Sorry.
You can continue if you'd like, Jennifer, or okay. I just kind of on that topic. One, I want to say I appreciate everybody sharing their story. It's very valuable to hear. My question is regarding kind of your experiences and if there was either an experience or what was the revelation to be able to be so successful, either in your professional, personal, kind of where you come to now. Like you described, not everybody can get to this point in their life. Some don't make it to this stage. So what was it, either a defining moment, either experience or person or something that got you to where you guys are today?
I think I could start. Mainly for me, I think my tipping point was a lot of my job, just getting this career, making it this far, fighting my own attempts to take my own life after a lot of my friends from my program did. It was the anger of not wanting to be another statistic. It was like, I am going to fight like hell to not have that be my outcome. I don't want that. I want to live. I want to be successful, but I need the help. And unfortunately, as an adult, it doesn't exist in this case. That's the only reason I'm looking into further treatment, such as shocking my own brain, because medication does not work. It does not treat trauma.
Yep. I mean, my answer would just be persistent. I am just really, really freaking persistent, which is, I think, probably the problem my mother had with me. But it's served me to get me where I am. It just took a really long time. And if I hadn't been to Provo, probably would have taken a lot less time.
I will share for myself that I think it is dumb luck that I am alive, that I am successful, that I'm educated, that I have a good career. I'm just super, very fortunate. I don't think that it was anything or anyone that saved me. I just got lucky, plain and simple.
I would say that I actually just saved myself. Just after making it out of addiction. Like I said, I probably shouldn't even be here right now, statistically. And just when that happened, I wanted to give back. And I'm on disability. I have a lot of things like that I have to deal with, but I still want to give back to the community and the fact that I made it out on the other side is, kind of a blessing,
I think for me, honestly, what has kept me going is my daughter. She's struggled with her own mental health, and I didn't want her to ever have to go through what I had gone through. And any child, I would never want any child to go through what we have gone through.
Also,
For
just
me-
realizing that there's other people out there that have similar experiences. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Definitely that part. Yeah. I honestly, for a long time, thought I just went to this one in a million random weird ass school in the middle of Woodstock, Connecticut. But then as I'm growing to be older, come to find out Paris spoke out. And now I met some of these people personally, even. We have get togethers, we have meetups, we have made our own community because we're probably the only people that could ever even begin to understand. Like I can't even count on my hand how many therapists, psychiatrists that I've tried to go get help from, and they tell me you need to find a specialist. I'm not equipped to deal with the amount of trauma you have experienced. There is no help for this. It saved me as a teen, but am I going to make it to 80? I don't know. I can't speak for that. I'm fighting every day too, though.
It did not save me as a teen, but part of it is finally accepting my identity and realizing that some people would like nothing better than my queer butt to be erased and not giving them that. There's also, like I mentioned, I did get medical assistance with recovering from an eating disorder and actually addressing the root cause and kind of realizing that. And then the other one was that I met my now husband actually in one of those college classes. And seeing how he treated me, because I had not been treated with respect before by pretty much anyone in my life. And honestly, his reaction to seeing how my parents treated me kind of realized, oh, this isn't normal. Like, I actually don't deserve this. And then getting out and just living life and having its own struggles. Like, it's not perfect, obviously. I have a lot of physical challenges too, but I'm now back in school through the Ticket to Work program on disability. And yeah, so.
I think for me, it was reconnecting with other people that had the same experience as I did, going to a similar school. I know why I was there. I had a few other students ask me, why do you hate it so much? And I kind of played the game while I was there. I later found somebody said, oh, I thought you drank the Kool-Aid. And I'm like, oh no, and the others that were in my kind of peer group and above definitely knew I didn't drink the Kool-Aid. And I think afterwards they realized, hearing from them, oh, now I see what you meant. I see the abuse that you were talking about when you were there. That kind of helped me a lot to kind of be able to move forward. My nightmares decreased. I think I have always had that intrinsic kind of drive to want to get out into the world and be able to live on my own and get a job and do something kind of like that. But I think just hearing other people acknowledge the experience and understand made a difference for me.
And something my psychiatrist said about how the self-harm and the eating disorder, they were survival mechanisms that allowed me to survive the horrors that I had been through. But now that I'm out of danger, I have the ability to look for other more healthy ones and to not really be ashamed of what I did, because it allowed me to survive the only way I knew how. But now they were no longer serving me. They were no longer positive, and I could find new ways to survive.
Yeah. Wendy, I have a question. Did we have any more slideshow? I was gonna leave off at least my part with a posthumous testimony from one of my most recent classmates that unfortunately passed away. I don't know if you got to include that or not.
I think we have to actually let people go.
Gotcha. Okay.
I guess we're going to have to go. Yep. We're going to have to let people go because we're already past our time. And I appreciate everybody who stuck around and continued to ask questions. But everybody wants to get to the closing. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. I'm willing to stay on the Zoom if any of the survivors want to debrief, but we need to go ahead and close this and let everybody have a good rest of their day. Thank you so
Thank you all
much.
for coming, whoever came and listened to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oops. A nice night on Going all right. For Kevin.
Hopefully you have good stuff.
Oh, is that your the walk ride? That was sat in the middle.
You guys are great.
All right, so you guys are not on the AV in the room anymore, so feel free to talk, chat, debrief, whatever you want to do. Yeah.
You guys are
all did
all
amazing.
badasses.
Thanks. I was so nervous. And I owe Jennifer a big apology for cutting her off like twice. I'm so sorry.
I learned a lot about myself watching how I reacted when anyone I asked if my time was up and then ran away. And I did not finish and I feel really shitty about it. But this is just totally par for the course of what we're talking about. I should be there in person right now. And I'm not because of anxiety. So it's PTSD is real. And I just saw it in action when I'm literally talking about my own successes. And that's so fucked up. It hurts.
Don't beat yourself up over it though. Use it try and see the silver light of I know this and I can work on it now. Don't beat yourself up over it.
This is a constant thing. I ghosted the Bernie Sanders campaign. I've ghosted the this is just a thing. So it's something I don't know that I'll ever, I don't know.
Yeah. I actually had groups written out that I didn't cover stuff and I added things I didn't expect. And I think if we ever do something like this again, I think each time our story will change and what we share might change a little bit too. And I think we all did a great job, but you did a great job, Jennifer. And
I loved your slideshow.
I meant to talk.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, I loved I was so, yeah, I feel like you guys all did such a good job talking about this stuff. And I ran away before I got to the important parts of what actually happened. And that my therapist married a fucking patient that was there a decade after me. The same therapist that forced me to wear makeup. That was really important to me to say. And
yeah.
Anyway,
there's always time to share that at another point too.
Yeah. And every time we do this, we're just going to get more and more better at speaking in this semi-public way.
I mean, I'm in films as myself. I need a lawyer basically. I'm dealing with intense domestic violence from my family that I cannot hold on to anymore. And that's
reach out to the Justice Collaborative Law Firm. They literally helped me with something not even boarding school T.T.I related, family related, that is international right now. They helped me find the exact perfect person that I needed to help me with that family member in that country. And it was free of charge. I just literally was bitching and moaning and they were like, I'll get back to you with some calls. Let me talk to some colleagues. Reach out to them.
I have.
That's awesome.
I'm going to have to get going. Sorry to interrupt. I'll leave the screen on for you guys to chat and Wendy will be over in a second. But I wanted to say a quick goodbye. Thanks so much for everybody's efforts and support today and all your hard work and your bravery for sharing everything.
Thank you.
You as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Wendy will be right back here, but I'm going to head out.
Be safe.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Thanks so much.
Seriously, all of you guys kicked ass. Seriously. It was amazing.
You look
Everybody
like you're
did
chilling. I
good.
love your scenery. It looks so sunny and nice outside there.
It is. It is. Thank you.
Porch.
Wendy, how are you feeling about everything? I always forget. Wendy Ann. Wendy Ann, how are you feeling about everything? Because you kicked ass.
I was so ridiculously nervous, and the fact that it didn't start out smooth, it was kind of bumpy, just made it like so much harder. But we survived. We all did it. We're like, okay.
That is what we do.
Yeah,
Word.
we survived.
We survive
Yeah.
and we thrive.
And Ian, thanks for joining us. I don't know how much of it you caught, but I'm glad that you're here.
Yeah, sorry, I wanted to jump in. I'm at work right now and at my construction site, so I had to step away from the noise a little bit. But yeah, I only got to the end. I wish I would have caught it from the beginning. I had only caught it when Jordan, when you posted about it an hour ago. I caught it about an hour late. So
Well, I recorded it, and I'm
I
gonna
was gonna say,
be.
did we get this recorded?
I recorded a copy.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Excellent.
cool.
Thank you, Jordan.
yeah.
Wendy, can I ask just more specifically, because I joined kind of late, was this in front of like lawmakers, or who exactly was the audience there? And where is this?
Policymakers. This is the California Mental Health Advocates for Children and Youth Conference.
Wow.
They have this every year at the Asilomar Conference Grounds at Asilomar State Beach. So people in the room were some were parents, some were providers, mental health providers, some were policymakers for mental health for children and youth, some for child welfare. A big mix of people who are movers and shakers in the children and youth mental health world.
If I wanted to start getting into like getting some of that started on like the East Coast, how do you even get started doing this? Like, how did you get to be a guest speaker?
I responded to the request for proposal. This is my third or fourth time at this conference. I keep getting confused which one it is. I was actually brought here as a parent of a child being served in by a nonprofit in mental health. They brought us all here on a and had us stay at this conference. It was amazing. My kiddo came too as part of a youth advocacy program that he was involved in. And so I've been on their mailing list ever since. So when the request for proposal came through, I put it in and we were rejected. And then they had somebody drop out.
Wow.
So that's why it's been so like last minute and everything.
Gotcha.
Last minute.
That's awesome though. Thank you for giving us all this opportunity to speak at this. I don't know how I would have ever found this otherwise.
Thanks for being here. I was amazed that I managed to get so many people that we actually had to worry about time, because I was really worried that there was going to be, anybody saying anything. And I was worried that because I didn't give a very good blurb about what was happening, that I was worried there weren't going to be any participants in our audience, but it worked out really well. I think we had almost 40 people at one point.
Wow.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That is.
I think people only started watering away because they give raffle prizes at the main assemblies. And so people wanted to go and
Of course, presents.
Mhm. We need to get. We need.
their raffle.
That's why we need like a prize wheel when we do
Yeah,
these things. You know.
Something to like
To-
draw the
Yeah.
the audience.
Yeah.
Because I do agree. This could be a little bit like droning after a while, hearing the different, like I can only imagine as someone that has no knowledge of this, like listening to all of us speak after a while, it's like, can we have something fun, just something interactive real quick, just an intermission really quick?
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get us in front of a lot more people. I handed out as many
You
business
know what we
cards
should do? We should start doing like audience trivia for like the first 2 minutes or whatever. So who thinks they know about this, or who could take a guesstimate about this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
That would be good, and throw some numbers at them.
Yeah, and then watch their jaws hit the floor when they're like
Yeah.
sorely underestimating.
Yeah.
I think we should do that after like every other person that speaks. Have a little.
Yeah, but like one trivia fact or something.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
be so fun.
Some audience engagement.
Really
Yeah.
would be.
Yeah, get their brains moving.
Yeah.
Make them be the lifeboat.
Mhm.
That would be great. Yeah.
Oh my God, we should do program exercises with them. I feel like that would just take too long though. I feel like those are so drawn out.
Ask them how it made them feel. You
Yeah.
know?
What do you think about this? What's your feedback?
We definitely should have some video clips and stuff too. It would be really great if we had, just a short clip of the game from Synanon where it all started and all
Yeah.
of that. All that was beyond me. Like I work 60 hours a week. I see at least 40 clients a week, sometimes 50, or probably more often 45 than 40. And
That's
so
not healthy, Wendy Ann.
I am very aware. I'm also very broke and supporting a lot of people.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
I wish we didn't have to work as much.
So anyways, I didn't have any time to work on this. Like literally I did it once I got here. I thank
This is
God.
amazing though. If you put this together right before we did this, that's amazing. That takes talent.
Lori came and sat on me yesterday and got me started. Like she came and sat next to me and I got some slides
You're
going.
doing this.
And then I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning, couldn't get back to sleep, had an alarm for 5. So I started working on the slides then.
Well, you got a little bit of head start. There you go.
I think we did
Oh, but
pretty
it
good.
turned out really well. It turned out very well overall for it being a last minute, like put together thing.
100%.
That it came out very well, I think.
Thanks. I hope people email me so I can send them out the PowerPoint because it has so many links in it that were useless to look at. You need to be able to follow them.
Yeah, exactly. Follow the rabbit hole.
Yep.
And Jordan, are you going to post the video?
I was thinking about doing it on my channel if that's okay with everybody.
I would love that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll get it posted in the next
down
day
with
or
that.
two. Yeah.
Who else is going to the Kids Are Not All Right screening?
I am.
I want to
Is
see
that
that
the
really
one in
bad.
Arizona?
Well, they're having one in LA, but there's more, I think. I think they have a few more.
The
No,
one in
I think it's
Amazon
the
that
one
happens
in
to be on a
NYC.
Sunday. When it came through my email, somebody got me on some email list because I got an email about it, that it was going to be on a Sunday. And I'm like, yeah, I have to go. So I've already bought 2 tickets. So if there's any other Los Angelino that wants to go, I've got a ticket for him.
It's so good, guys. It's so good. And I hope they do like the Q&A that they did in NYC. Like, I don't know if they're doing that at every screening or not, but it's definitely worth going out to watch.
Well, why do they not have a video of this or like a DVD or anything? Or are they just doing theater? Why do
That
they
I
not?
I don't know.
It's probably still competing in the festivals. So you don't.
Yeah,
put
I was gonna say, I think it's a festival right now.
Yeah.
Put it online really, unless it's a short without festivals won't take a feature and if it's already been released online.
Okay.
They can only put it out after all of this.
Yeah, so they got to have a chance to win all their awards, and I hope they do.
Yeah, no, I think they will. That one was very well done. I don't know what else they're in a category with, like in comparison, but theirs was very, very well done.
Amazing how different. I mean, I haven't seen this one, but like the ones I have seen, it's amazing how different they all are while telling the same story. Like
it's wild.
Any like similarities, but also like it shows that it reaches everywhere. And
if you think about it too, it goes to like the most sickest part of the human minds because each one has so many like vastly different incidents, but they're all based upon the same ideology. Like it's insane.
Many times people could have intervened. So many times we could have like if you well, why does a kid run away from home? Like it says abuse. Like it says
literally that is just common knowledge now.
Yeah.
100%.
Did anyone else go to kind of like a school setting where like kids would almost brag about how many kids would get expelled? Was that like a normal thing for people to like keep tabs of that?
Sounds New York.
Oh no, I was in Connecticut, but I meant like when kids just disappear from our program, like I'm assuming they get sent somewhere else, but like, no, nobody.
I mean,
Then when kids disappeared, they got sent somewhere else for sure.
Yeah. My school is weird because it also has like a running tab of how many of us got expelled with the headmistress telling us the same exact words throughout decades that we were cancerous to the student body.
Jesus.
That's why I'm like, I don't think it speaks well for these private places that one of them that markets itself as a college prep school has a running list of proud expelled graduates. Like it doesn't even make sense.
Agreed.
You should interview them. Like,
I'm just waiting for them to get done with their first Jane Doe case so they can get to the rest that are in the queue. Because that one's going to set the precedence for the rest of them. And mind you, they just finished an admissions tour across the East Coast while this is all going on.
What's an admissions tour?
They basically are doing like press tours to try and get more families to send their kids.
Wait, the T.T.I.
Hyde School that I went to personally. They're in the middle of sexual assault allegations going to trial, and they just got done doing an admissions tour trying to draw more people in.
Oh, they'll just rebrand and fucking say it's not the same place.
That's what I said. I was like, that's what they're doing with all their charter schools in different states now.
They think they're sneaky, but they're really not.
Mm-mm.
They all do the same shit.
The
That's
teaching
why
is one of the reasons why I think that charter schools should not exist. I don't think there should be any
No.
that parents get to send their kid to a private place with public money.
Exactly. No, I don't even understand how it's legal. I really don't. How do you go from a private entity to also partnering with a public? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
You follow the money.
Something money wise. Yeah, something's going on there. And the IRS, someone's got to actually pay attention, because I cannot even imagine the scandal that would cause if someone actually did an investigation into the money.
Well, we know where it's going for the most part. We just we can't touch those people. You know what I mean?
No, but that's what I mean. Like, if people realized how big of a fucking operation it is, statewide, to it's all a coordinated effort. It's just a funneling system for kids.
It's $1 billion industry.
Yeah, that's sick.
And that's probably just in the United States. Think about all the other countries where people don't even talk about the schools that are in other countries, which I completely understand. Work on the U.S. first and all that, but people have no idea.
Other countries, but by and large, other countries are not sending their kids to these programs because other countries have signed on the United Nations Children's Bill of Rights.
Yeah, but a lot of these. What I've noticed is a lot of these places in other countries, you just your kid just ends up there. It's not
one of the main things I also noticed for most of the international ones is they're almost all religious oriented. They're under the guise of religion that they exist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They're not just regular private. They're always religiously affiliated.
Yeah. Yeah, that has a big part.
It's kind of culturally exploitative of the people, because I knew of one in DR, and people take their religion seriously in the Hispanic community, and to have a school like that in the middle of a campo, when that was found out, was crazy. I forget which one it was. I think it was Escuela something Caribe, something like that.
Escuela Caribe, yeah.
Yeah, that one. When the people found out, to this day, if I bring up where I went, my friends in DR, their family members remember hearing about that, and they were like, yeah, we didn't have, those people got terrorized out of the town once it was found out what was going on.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I gotta get going. But it was so great hanging out with you guys, getting to know you all, hearing your stories, and just seeing what badasses you are. And yeah, best wishes to you all, and hope to hear from you soon.
Have a good one, Sally. Enjoy the sunshine.
Thank you. Take care.
Rachel, does the Hides where their tour is going and all that stuff?
So they did, I believe someone had posted it. I don't know if you go on the Troubled Teen subreddit a lot. Someone had posted an announcement of it. That's the only reason that I knew of it, because I have my notifications on for that, because a lot of Hide survivors now are doing deep dives and putting out the historical writings of the founder and his racist, rhetoric and all this stuff. So people are looking into it. But publicly, Hyde is denouncing the survivors, basically. They're aware of the scrutiny publicly online that the parents are coming across, or prospective parents. And they're actively also doing PR damage control by saying, those were disgruntled kids, da-da-da-da. This is not true, da-da-da-da. It's maddening. It's maddening.
You guys could set up a Q&A at the hotel next door or something like that.
That's what I was wanting to do, but then someone was telling me that because we're in current litigation, that could come back badly on me to even if I get accused of putting a protest or something like that together, that literally would monetarily damage their business prospectively.
Is this through the JLC? Is that the
Yeah.
I couldn't get work in for that, and
Damn. Fuck. Have you checked on Silence? I know on Silence, last time I looked on their the website, they actually put up a T.T.I attorney directory of firms that are representing T.T.I claims. Yeah, they actually have a few.
I can't fill out a form, and I can't because of T.T.I shit, I literally have panic attacks, and and shit is, it just becomes a whole fucking thing. And
Damn.
I definitely put things off. I did the proposal for this at the last minute, because I'm I was talking to people, and I'm can anybody help me with this? And everybody was busy. And so I literally put it in at midnight on the deadline day.
That's
And
amazing.
I'm sure that's why we didn't get accepted was originally was because it was such a bare bones thing. And I don't know what moved them to take us at the last minute, but I just kept putting it off and putting it off because I find all this so triggering. Like Katie McNamara invited me to speak to the producers to be interviewed for This Is Paris, and I couldn't do the thing. Like I just couldn't even imagine the idea of other people knowing.
Yeah.
I've been bullied in therapist spaces when I spoke out against the TTI. I had one person even.
It's weird some of the reactions they'll give you, like professionals.
It's because they're probably financially invested.
She said you've been to one of those places, haven't you? We can tell.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the whole fucking point.
But I didn't tell. I wasn't out at all at that point, and she wanted to out me.
Trying to discredit you.
I left that group, but yeah, I tried to discredit me. Exactly, Jordan.
Yeah.
Also, that's just the exact fucking stigma that we're fighting is like, because we're all liars. What, you're a fucking clinician? Like,
yeah, we're bad kids. We're bad kids because we deserve to get sent there. We must have done something to get sent there, so we're bad.
You know, that actually brings up a point I forgot. I forgot to mention that, like, through my job, like, we've literally had forensic psychologists that make like the state's highest earned dollar, right? Recommend places like Rikers as therapeutic in people's court cases. That's why I'm like, you really need to, like, people that take these jobs need to have annual in-service trainings. They need to be verified every year that they are currently up to date. Like, people can't just get a job and be left to do the job anymore. Like, no, people need oversight. Clearly, they cannot act right.
And in America, we keep somebody's record against them for the rest of their life. It doesn't matter if it was it doesn't matter if it was petty theft or whatever. It's on your record forever. It's very difficult to get anything actually expunged. Crazy. So of course, we're troubled teens. We're just troubled teens the rest of our lives.
Forever, yeah. Which I hate to say it, but like, who the hell has the I want to know who has the qualifying of utmost degrees to say what the fuck troubled actually is. Because at my school, I went with a 12-year-old. She was the youngest kid that ever went. She went with me my first summer program. And I asked her, what the hell are you doing here? I know what I'm doing. What are you doing here? My mom thinks I wake up late too much. Like, excuse me?
In my program too. And they abuse the fuck out of her.
It's like the guys that these kids can just get sent under. Like, I'm sorry, but if legal cases have to go with very specific definitions, so do these places now. That should just be law.
I got my to meet up with me a couple years ago, and when I saw her, the first thing she said to me was like, "Oh, it's so good to see you. How's your dad? I remember him being so cute. He always used to flirt with me." If I'm fucking meeting up with you to tell you that the place that you sent me, like, traumatized me for life, and you're telling me that like my fucking dad flirted with you, of course you
like
trafficked me. Like,
for most of these programs there's
like, she told me about the perks she got, and I'm just like fucking mind blown. Like,
it's wild.
For most of these programs there's only one qualification: the wallet biopsy. As long as your family passes the wallet biopsy, then you're in.
Was it common for your guys' programs to have a lot of former students come back as staff? Like, was that a regular thing for you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, that's got to be an intricate part of it. But I need to know, like, what those people get paid to do that, because they get free room and board. They have no fucking qualifications. Like, what type of dollars are you making to go back and be a teacher now?
Well,
it makes no fucking sense.
They're fully indoctrinated and brainwashed, so they know that they'll do their bidding without flinching an eyelash, you know?
And minimum wage. They get minimum wage.
Really? They're not actually paid like teacher salary? Like,
I mean,
salary?
I think it depends on the place, because I know the place I went, they actually got incentives for like how many kids they tackled, how many kids they had in the program. They would get bonuses for like if you had to like work a night shift and sleep over out. They would, like, sometimes the family father, they ran the families, he would have to sleep out in the middle of the room, and when you did that, you would get like $500 a night or whatever. Yeah, extra money. So I know at least the place I went, they were making bank.
That's wild to me.
Care or whatever, like it's like crisis management pay or something like that, or like instead, or what's it called, bonuses, like, for, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they create crises.
That's absolutely wild. I cannot even. I can't fathom how like there has not been like a bigger like fucking scandal. Like it's the entire United States, every fucking state. Like
It's all related to all the shit, like the Epstein shit, Scientology.
that's why I'm
Yeah.
like, how is this not like being looked at?
And the bottom is
I
like,
didn't tell, it is being looked at. The United States Senate did their report and they called these places warehouses of neglect, and they're all still open and everybody still wants to be the way they are. And
Does
I think
that-
this group, my one thing I always tell people is I guarantee you right now, there's at least a dozen kids somewhere in a concrete room shivering on the floor because people
Yeah.
just don't want to believe that that's true, but it's absolutely true.
Well, and I hate to say it, but all these like Netflix specials, like the Gabriel Fernandez trials documentary series, like all these child abuse by parent, like if you can now wrap your head around that, what is so outrageous about some random stranger doing it to thousands of kids?
Yeah.
Like that's not so crazy to conceive now, is it? When you realize, hey, there's really disgusting parents that do this type of shit. Now we're talking about a whole institution with multiple actors. Of course that's happening there.
If it can happen in a cul-de-sac, it can happen in the middle of fucking bumfuck
Exactly.
nowhere.
Like,
Okay?
where's the beyond
Like,
belief aspect now?
and there's no oversight, there's no accountability, there's no transparency for these places. And I think that's another reason why
You know
it
what
continues to
always kills me,
happen
though?
is because, nobody's holding these people accountable. So why are they going to stop if nobody's holding them accountable?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Tiffany just jumped in. So maybe we want to catch her up on what we're kind of we're campfiring after our presentation.
Yeah.
I'm just jumping in. I'm just curious. I'm just listening. I'm on my lunch break at work.
Hey, Tiffany.
Hi.
That's funny. But earlier you were talking about how, certain cases like that can get news. That's kind of how I wonder when it comes to even some parents out there when their kid has committed suicide in the program. You're telling me every parent out there, not one of them is trying to get that on news? Why not one case of one parent? I mean, I know the manipulation, the brainwashing to get your kid for the parents sending their kids there, but a loss of your kid in the program. I mean, there's got to be there's got to be parents out there that are flipping, but let alone you don't see one story out there at all.
they probably pay to suppress stuff like that and have our things in the news and file immediate lawsuits for anything mentioning them.
That's such horseshit.
Yeah, they resolve it outside of court before it gets like actually serious or whatever. They'll pay the people off. That's
Pretty much what's happening in my current case against my program right now. Apparently, the school is willing to talk basically monetary settlement numbers. But if they try and hit me with okay, but from our end, we're requiring an NDA or something. No, I'm sorry, but I'm never going to stop talking. You can't pay me enough too, because even what you're paying me isn't even going to amount to what the rest of my life is going to cost.
Yeah, what the fuck's money going to do for trauma that I don't even know how to solve in the first place?
And there's no legitimate help for it. Like everyone just tells you I'm not that equipped, or it didn't happen, or you're making it up. Like there's no recourse.
I had a dime for every therapist who told me that they weren't qualified to treat me.
It's crazy. Like, hello, you're literally a trauma specialist. What the fuck?
But our trauma is like prisoner of war trauma. And I would struggle with a prisoner of war client. I'd be like, I don't know that I know what I need to know to work with you. But at some point,
but it's also the lack of the colleagues, though. Like, there's just no resources either. It's not even I can't, but maybe I know someone. Like, it's just I can't help you. Good luck finding someone that can. Like,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, trauma it's like the kind of trauma that prisoners of war have, and I'm sure that outside of the VA, it's probably really hard to find anybody who has training for that.
Yeah, the first question I ask a new therapist is, do you know what the difference between CPTSD and PTSD is? And if they do, then tell me. Yeah, because if you don't, then I don't think this is going to work, like. First of all,
CPTSD is
I also specifically ask outright if they know about institutional child abuse. I just straight up ask that too. And if they follow it up with no, please tell me, then I have no further business talking to you.
Right. But yeah, CPTSD isn't even in the manual yet. Like it's still not a thing that I could diagnose anybody with.
That's crazy. But we know for sure it's a thing.
Oh yeah, well, we know for sure it's a thing, but it doesn't have an IDC code. It can't be billed for.
Well,
It's not.
that's convenient, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it? I'm hoping it's going to be in the 6, but they decided to do another text revision of the 5. It didn't make it into the 5, the DSM-5, and they decided to do another text revision. So now we have got DSM-5 TR, and
Nice.
no new diagnoses can't be added to a text revision. So maybe it'll make it into the 6, but they still had it in the 5 as things for additional consideration.
Huh.
Wow. I can see, yeah.
For children, because the foster system has, I mean, some at least that are like trauma informed because they're all going through that like constant transition stuff. But once you're an adult, it's like,
and the foster system
problem. If you don't
they're
master it as the kid, it's harder as an adult to then grasp it. Like if you don't have it down in your formative years, good luck just staying out of prison or, a hospital as an adult, because you're going to snap at some point. That's just what happens.
I'm not sure that being trauma informed changes much in the foster system because all the adults are trauma informed, but the way that they're doing things with the foster
the system itself
the way they've always done it.
And I don't really feel like there's that much oversight. I could be wrong with the foster care system and just foster homes and stuff. I've just interviewed a lot of people and researched a lot of stuff where a lot of abuse happens there, and there just never seems to be any accountability held to anybody that does anything shady. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there have been cases where people have been held accountable, but I also feel like it's just there's not enough oversight in that sector.
Everything they do is just stop letting those foster parents be foster parents. Like that's pretty much as far as the punishment.
There needs to be more like intensive training, especially like requirements to even become a foster parent as well.
Yeah.
Like even do that needs to become a much harsher process.
Oh, you have a home? Oh, you have a backyard? Okay.
Yeah,
you're
like no, that's
qualified.
not
Like,
enough.
yeah.
They need to learn
San
like
Diego requires 36
everything.
hours. The County of San Diego requires 36 hours of training to start out with, and then you have to do an additional I think it's 16 or 24 or something hours a year.
What do they learn though? What is it? Just basic parenting classes? Because that's why I'm like,
not even that.
That's why I'm like, what is the training to be a foster parent even? What's the requirement?
It's basic parenting. The training is like they give it in San Diego anyways, they give a trauma informed pre-service, they call it, that's 16 hours. But a lot of it is just like, they think a lot of themselves. So they think that they think that they know what we need to know. I'm looking up right now. There's an organization. It's the Foster and Adoptive Kinship Care Education. And they have a little pink book, they call it. And so you can see how at least they describe the training. But some of the things that qualify, like for the 8 hours, they have one that they do on hair care, ethnic hair care. It's like, okay, that's helpful, but
how about like
that's not really helpful.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm curious what they write about like punishment, like how you're supposed to punish your child, like because in my corporal punishment, I don't think spankings are good in my opinion. I feel like that's bad, but that's my own personal opinion,
It's illegal to spank a foster child. They don't really give enough on how to. They talk a lot about positive reinforcement, but when the kid you're dealing with has a lot of challenging behaviors, I don't know that there's.
And that's the other thing about it, that I'm like, they really need more intensive training. Like even me at my job, we have to take like social interaction training for, people with specific disabilities, how to de-escalate in certain situations. We have to, even if we're not fully ASL trained, we have to at least know the general signs. Like we have to it's in-depth annual in-service trainings that are like state just basic requirements. And then they also have electives that you can further take if you choose to, but it's like very intensive at the very least every year. And as the laws update, we have to keep up to date with those laws. Like every year I have to take my DT, which is defensive tactics trainings, which is, the physical maneuvers, should we have to do lawful restraints or, whatever. And when it comes down to it, like specifically because I live in the 5 boroughs in New York City, we do it different than New York State in its entirety. We cannot get anywhere near certain body parts anymore, or else we will lose our job on the spot. Like, it's just that simple. If it's caught on camera, you're done.
Yeah.
If you even, if a patient's coming at you, right? Let's say a patient's charging at me and I have my fists balled on camera, I can be charged with attempted assault just because my fists are balled and I don't have my palms open and like open. Like, there's literal, very, very specific therapeutic, as they call it, like ways to be what they call us. Like, we're supposed to be therapeutic ambassadors. Like, it sounds so fucking stupid, but the training is so very literal, and it literally does work. Like, truly trauma informed care, like to a T, like that really is the only type of intervention, especially in, like, if you have an adolescent that is violent or something like that. Like, I hate to say it, but we have my facility for kids. We have maximum security New York State. They're basically the old school asylums. They're now forensic or civilian facilities, and they're the state hospitals where that's the worst of the worst. Your level is the most escalated it can be. If you're at a state hospital, you have been referred by every other city hospital. That's the only way you get put in a state hospital other than court ordered.
Right.
So like that's literally, we deal with those type of people every day. So when they're having a bad day, it really is a bad day, and there is no arguing with them. Like, I'm not going to tell someone that thinks the government is going to kill them that they're not, or that they're delusional. You just do not approach that situation that way. It is never going to go in a therapeutic manner that is conducive to the patient's safety and mine. I'm not going to ever argue with someone. I'm not going to ever promise something to someone that I cannot, like, there's literal, very specific things that you do and you do not do. And there's accountability for everything, for every level of staff and care along the way, unfortunately for the doctors.
I think that's a big key part, is the accountability and holding people accountable when they do something wrong,
Yeah.
And that's why we've got the troubled teen industry, because there is no accountability.
Yep.
Jordan, I dropped that the brochure page for the foster parent training that foster parents in the county of San Diego get.
Okay.
So you can kind of get an idea of what they offer, and you have to do so many hours a year and so many hours before you can start. And I don't know that it's enough. And I also don't think you can just sit in a classroom. I think they ought to send.
Oh, you need real life experience too, like to see in an interaction that goes wrong, like, can you handle it? Can you actually de-escalate it? Or are you going to get triggered and engage now?
Exactly. Exactly. That part right there.
And further the trauma,
Exactly. And possibly get people hurt.
Yeah.
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 Because that's the one thing that I've always noticed on my job is, like, there's certain people that, like me, for instance, my size comes into play. My soft spoken nature, until I have to get aggressive, and if it turns into that, it makes my job easier. I'm the officer that the patients ask, can you stay with me for snack after I take all their shackles off and say, okay, you can go now, we're back. Like, if we just came from the hospital kind of thing, they ask me to stay and eat dinner with them, and I'm not allowed to do that. I, as the officer, cannot get that close with them. But me, in my head, because I can handle myself, I've literally accidentally given patients hugs, which I'm not supposed to do, but it benefits my particular job as me being the officer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, real lived experience is why I can do this job. And I tend to have the most effective outcome with patients when they are in the midst of escalating or going wrong, or, hyper fixated on one officer. And now here comes my little ass, like, hello, hi, it throws people, like, that's part of the element of surprise. Like, that's part of the training. Like, it goes so much deeper into, like, the human interaction and, like, the psychology behind it than people realize.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, these people, like, how I don't understand how it's just rampant and allowed like this. Like, it's crazy to me, because that's why people get hurt. Like, people just get triggered. They don't know themselves, they don't know their own struggles, and then they take jobs like that, and then they end up hurting people because they get triggered.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, and then there's the predators that take the job just so they can take advantage of that situation. Yeah.
But I think a lot of the predators are the people who got triggered. They took the job thinking they could thinking they could be helpful, and not realizing how much harm that they're capable of doing.
Or that they have that as their own inner demon. That child that you have an issue with, that is your own issue within yourself, and that's your mirror right there. Like, that's never going to be a conducive situation to anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like confronting your own inner trauma is important, maybe even mandatory to do before you start helping other people. You know what I mean?
If I was able to be a lawmaker, I would make that a requirement for anyone working any type of mental health job. You have to have gone through like 3 years of therapy.
Well,
Because if
also
a job can do a psych exam on me, why the hell can't that be a requirement for you?
yeah.
You're going to require me to get a psychological examination just to do this job, but you're not going to prove to me you're trauma informed enough to be questioning my psychological state.
Without projecting?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. I would love to like go back to school or something and figure out how to become like the lawmaker,
Yeah,
but
right.
I'm never going to become a lawmaker. My character history doesn't speak well to become anyone making laws that anyone would listen to, even though I have good points, but
Yeah, the TTI would not like me if I became a lawmaker. I'll tell you that much right now.
it wouldn't be able to
I
exist.
I would literally be like, well, you guys are open now. Every single school is closed by tomorrow, and anybody that refuses, we're just going to take you by force. Like,
Or you have to
literally.
become state regulated. You have to abide
Yeah.
by that. You are now run by the state. You are no longer private.
Oh, no, I'm not going to let
Those are
states,
ridiculous tuitions.
we're not going to let states run these places because some of these states, like their legislators are
Well, and that's the other thing that I'm like, oh Jesus, they need to get more of these kids as the lawmakers because that's how you actually end this. But I don't know how that gets achieved. Because the only way laws get made with any meaning are with real lived experience and coming from any place of knowledge like that.
Yeah, we need a TTI survivor to fucking run for government and literally become a lawmaker.
I hate that narrative. Have you guys seen that narrative in the survivor community, though, that we're so broken and we should never be people in power? And I'm like, excuse the fuck out of me. I like to think I make pretty good, sound decisions in my life at this point if I can do the work I do.
I'm definitely broken and I make sound decisions. And
Yeah, like I think I'm a survivor turned thriver. Like I'm doing better than I probably should be.
I feel like my trauma actually makes me make better decisions because I think about every single possible outcome that I can think about before I before I decide to do something or decide against doing something.
Exactly. It's like our brain just functions like that now, including every option, everything that could go wrong, like planning the worst, expecting the best, but hope, ready for anything always.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm so tired of these fucking old people making laws for people and how jobs should be done and what qualifies as what.
I think in regards to like the broken like narrative and stuff, I think a lot of people continue that on purpose for attention. So
that's what it's coming across like. Like, can we not just act like we're making trauma a brand and an identity?
But it's the same people doing that are like saying that.
Yeah, I have noticed that.
And all the people that I bring it up as an explanation for why we're not a real movement. We're not a real movement because every time we get together, we end up fracturing apart.
Yeah. Or we just like let things that we disagree on, push us apart. And it's just like when we should
disagree.
Yeah, in fact, that should actually make us closer to be okay and just accept that, okay, you have a different view than me, but I still love you. I still care about you. You're still my brother. You're still my sister. Like, it shouldn't matter. This bond that we have is unbreakable because of the trauma that we went through, the shared kind of trauma. So I don't feel like anything should be tearing us apart. I feel like we're stronger as a fucking team.
Yeah.
And that's the time we're going to make the most impact. Like, think about right after the program came out and everybody was super unified. I scheduled like fucking 30, 40 interviews that week alone, the first week it came out, because everybody was just like, I want to share my story. I want to contribute to this. This is so important. We need to fucking talk about this. And then like a month later, like just everything died down. Nobody was talking about it anymore. Nobody was trying to, I was getting a lot less interview requests. People weren't as excited and jazzed up. And I get it because people think that we're fighting an uphill battle, which we really are. But at the same time, it's baby steps until we can take that giant leap. You know what I mean? And we got to keep on taking those baby steps because we can't stop or we're going to start going backwards and losing the progress we made,
Exactly.
We got to keep the momentum up.
Because that's where people start getting weird about it. If it becomes your whole identity and your whole like
your image almost. Like, this is who I am. I'm traumatized. Like, what?
And yeah, advocacy is really important, but also like talking about all the other things that you do and how whole you are as a person, because the people that are bullying other people over this stuff are people that feel threatened by other people sharing their story, I think, which is ridiculous. So
or feel like they
I've
need to
never understood
compete,
that.
or feel like they need to compete with other people, or that it's a competition. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like they turn
It's
it into the
not.
trauma Olympics. Like, oh, you went through that? That's nothing. I went through this. Like, what? Are we arguing over child abuse? Really?
Yeah, right. I mean, I think what I went through is nothing compared to people who are at Tranquility Bay or High Impact, but people are like, you went to Provo, like you're OG. And I'm like, nah, but like you said, it's not Trauma Olympics.
Yeah, like child abuse is child abuse. Why are we all getting that fucked up?
Yeah, I feel like we were trained to do this. This is how we were trained to act. You know what I mean? We were literally programmed to react and act this way. And for a lot of us, we were already that was already kind of our personality to begin with. So going into the program just like reiterated that even more. So when we got out of the program, now it's all about that. It's all about this. You know what I mean? It's not, you can't look at any other viewpoint, and you're
I
just
think
seeing fucking, black, you know?
I think people also just, especially when it comes to like being active, like especially social media wise, or just appearing on things, speaking on this, they also need to also kind of like have like a reality check every time they're going to do it. Because at the end of the day, it's not about what happened in the past. Yes, that's important. That's the foundation. But there's kids actively today going through it. Like, yes, what you went through is terrible, but why are you speaking? Is it just to tell your story, or do you have a point in speaking? Are you trying to make this self centered about your story? You can write a book, you can make a movie, you can make it all about you, but that's not, I don't know, the general point of advocacy, just as the principle, the way I see it. Like, I always get so like, what is this? Like, it just turns into a performance almost.
I feel like cultivating community is very important to include in the reason you're telling your story is to try and bring people together. That's why my podcast, Speak on Myself, is just like my podcast is a platform that brings people together. Yes, I'm sharing my story, I'm sharing my experiences. Everybody else is sharing their experiences, but on top of that, it's bringing people together and showing people that there's a ton of other people that have had similar experiences, and come over here and be part of us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
golden rule, like all day. It's so fucking simple. Like if you don't want someone doing something to you, don't do it to them, and then do people that you want. Like it's not hard.
Exactly. I never understood the like attacking other people that have either done whatever form of outspokenness that they have, like taking that as a personal attack against you is just like I could never reconcile that in my brain. I never can understand it. I can't even begin to, because it's just so foreign to me.
And it seems like the people that get the most mad about what other people are doing, at least in my experience, is the people that aren't doing jack shit, that don't
Yeah.
do anything to try and raise awareness, and they try and critique what you're doing, and you should be doing it this way. And so it's just like, if you want to do it that way, then make your own podcast.
Right. You are
Like do
welcome
it
to do
yourself.
so.
Like, and I have no problem. I'll help you. I'll help promote your podcast. It's not a
Exactly.
competition. We should all be hoisting each other up.
Yep. Any chance we can. Exactly. That's why anytime I see anyone post any type of work or anything, a project, what I just reshare it, repost it everywhere, because it's really that simple. It's not like it's nothing personal. If anything, it's just for a purpose. Like there's a whole bigger picture than me individually. I don't make a picture.
And by you sharing it, that by default helps spread it out to more people, because it pushes it tells the algorithm that you're interacting with the video. So as a result of doing that one simple thing, you're actually helping the big cause. You're literally helping the big cause.
Rachel, I got like when you said that, like I'm not the full picture, whatever, like
yeah,
I got a really interesting visual of like us as pixels, like just
yeah, like you can focus in and I'm part of it, but all together we make something completely different. Like I'm just a picture by myself, but with a whole other thing, I create a whole scene, a whole world. Like I don't understand the close-mindedness of me.
I feel like I've noticed a little bit, like, I think everyone is genuinely like desperate to help in some way. And I feel like that's genuine. But sometimes I feel like some people are getting too caught up in wanting to be the one that, like the one that did the big thing that started the move,
The one that gets notoriety.
They want the
The one in the
recognition.
limelight. Yeah. I mean,
It's
I've done a lot of
not.
work. I've done a lot of work with the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and one of the things that they talk about in people's needs for recovery from crisis is advocacy. So like we all have this need to advocate, like it's a basic need for our psychological recovery. And so, yeah, I mean,
I was also going to say that I can't count how many times that people, just because of my platform, have tried to make me stand on one side or the other. And like literally my podcast works because I maintain neutrality.
Like
that's literally why people trust me, is because I don't pick a fucking side. Like literally it's not that I don't have my own opinions, but it's not my place. This platform isn't for how I feel about things, okay? This platform is to raise awareness, okay? So it doesn't mean either side is right or wrong. All it means is that I'm not going to take a goddamn side. Like,
and everyone gets to speak. That's it.
Yeah.
That's my whole point with these discussions, is I want to have as many different voices from different walks of life, from different programs, so that the universality of it can be seen by all of the audiences that are going to get to see it.
Yeah.
People are all powerful speakers that I'm talking about too, which is like, so it's like, there's no issue with that. And Jordan, I think it's like super important that you have that neutrality and that you take care of yourself through it, because like, you probably haven't heard anything about me because it's old shit, but like people want validation, especially from each other. And we're used to being in these situations where we have to gang up on each other. So like, you're a prime target for people to like pick at, and like, your mental health is important. And you're also probably a really good person to speak about whatever misunderstandings and communication and all that stuff, because I'm sure you hear all of it.
And you stay objective. Yeah, you probably have like the best bird's eye outside perspective.
Yeah, I've heard
you do keep your platform very neutral, and it's literally anyone that wants to speak, you're welcome.
Yeah, I've heard a whole lot of shit, but I'm not gonna, this isn't the place for that, And people trust me to tell me stuff, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna air out what they told me. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, of course,
because it's kind of like being a therapist in a way. Like in a way, I'm not certified or anything, but I do listen to people tell their story and stuff. So in a way, sort of a little bit. So with that comes also a little bit of confidentiality in a way, to where I'm not gonna, if they don't want, or if I feel like something shouldn't be said, I'm not gonna say it. You know what I mean? So that's, people can trust you. Ian, you had something to say?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I mean, I get you, brother, on that. I mean, don't take having to pick sides. I get exactly the pressure under that. I got so much of that questionable during all my meets and going around. Am I allowing people from this side? Is it okay for this? Am I blocking these people out and choosing sides, only meeting up with these people? And that's chaotic. It's not about sides at all. Our awareness and push for connection and communication, all that doesn't have sides. It's all needed for us.
Yeah, like even at the meeting we did in Washington, there was, I don't know if you remember or not, but there was a person that we've had some disagreements, and we just didn't acknowledge each other there. I wasn't going to talk to her if she didn't talk to me, and there was no animosity. We just didn't talk,
stayed
like,
away in your own world.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I'm not going to go. I'm still going to go. Like, I'm not going to miss that, but you just, how about this? Just don't talk to the person,
Exactly.
That's just my experience. Okay. That's just what I would do, but
I mean, opinions we all have. I mean, different opinions is fine to have. It doesn't mean just because we're not sitting on the same base of opinions or thoughts does not mean being able to be supportive or taking a chance of understanding where that person's mindset sits at the moment. I mean, it's not a one shot go.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like with this community, especially, everything is so nuanced too that like I wish more people were able to like take that minute before just immediately impulsively reacting.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's where so much goes wrong. It's just the immediate comeback point when people are like, well, no, fuck you. Like relax, take a breath. Like it's not that deep. We all have the same common goal at the end of the day. Like we don't need to be fighting each other for what?
And everyone's in fight or flight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like us naturally, we're just even more so in fight or flight because we're, at least for me personally, I'm always like waiting to dodge this way or that way to navigate and avoid bad things happening or, you know, stressful situations happening. So I feel like I'm always fight or flight, like
hyper vigilant. Yeah.
Yeah, always. Yeah. Yeah.
I hate that that's a side effect of all of this too, just inherently from going to these places.
Yeah. It just feels like you can almost never relax. Like I need
Yeah,
to smoke some
literally.
weed I need to smoke some weed to relax. Like, you know, like
I hate to say it, but they wanted to keep me on muscle relaxers for like my life because my stress like physically manifests in my body. So like my back never relaxes. I'm literally 2.5 inches shorter on one side because my body's always overcompensating. Like it's a mess. And I'm one of those, I try not to use pharmaceuticals if I can. I
Yeah.
don't like pharmaceuticals. Like I prefer like Eastern medicine. I really do not like Western medicine very much.
The same degree, you know, and it sucks that like to some degree we become dependent on like the same industry that like fucked us. Like,
yeah, it's almost like just ingrained in us. Like that's just our way of life now, and we have to like actively combat it.
Yeah.
Before we, I don't know when we're ending, and I'm not like busy, but before we close, can we do a little art activity? Like, do you guys have pencil and paper?
I can grab. Let me get it.
Yeah.
If we close, if we can, I'd love to like.
I like this. I like this. Can I get a coloring book?
Yeah, I mean, you can get whatever you want.
I have this little book, lined paper.
Paper is ideal, but you can do whatever you want. There's no rules. And yeah, that's cool. We want to do this.
Yeah, this sounds fun.
I wish I could join in on this. Unfortunately, at my work, I have no pen and paper around.
Use your foot in the dirt.
If I had dirt, unfortunately, it's all concrete around me.
You have any wet concrete? Use your finger paint.
Yeah, I'm sure the job supervisors would love that.
Yeah, trust me. I know. Just seeing me sitting here starting to do something off my job.
It's all good. Just visualize it.
Yeah, use your imagination.
Good?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm ready.
So look at your paper and draw 3 dots. And then after you've drawn 3 dots, draw 3 lines. And now sit and look at it for a second. Let's take a deep breath. And now I want you to start scribbling using only your wrist. So you'll be working like this. Like, does that make sense? Like
yeah. All one line connected?
Yeah, just like a scribble. I don't know if you can see that, but you can take up more. And then, so you'll do that for like, I don't know, a few seconds. And then you're going to start like moving from your elbow. And then your shoulder. You don't have to do it as fast as I am, but basically just feel what it feels like to like be doing this with different parts of your body. And then when you feel like you're done, you can stop. You good?
Yeah.
Tiffany, are you doing it?
Yes, I am.
Ian, are you doing? Oh, you're not doing it. You're doing it in your
in my mind. I'm doing it in my mind.
Take your paper and like step back from it a little bit. Just give yourself some space visually. And look at it. Look at like little details. Places there's like more marks than others. Look at the bigger swoops and see if you can tell the difference between like what part of your body you were using. And then turn it counterclockwise and do the exact same thing. And then do that again. And do the exact. And if you want, I like to take a photo of it before I do anything else. So I'm going to do that right now. But in your process of like flipping it around, you're going to find an orientation that feels like, okay, yeah, that's how that goes. And you're going to leave it there. And then you're going to take your pencil or pen, whatever. And somewhere in there, like some eyes are going to jump out at you. And you're just going to start filling that in exactly however your brain wants to. You can add things, you can ignore things, go through lines, do whatever. Like there's some kind of like person or creature or entity, and you can usually find that through eyes. And just go with like the first thing that you think of, because that's usually like the one. And if you need to keep turning it to see what that looks like, do that too. And then take your pencil and start outlining, filling that in and letting that like being kind of emerge. And then I guess I'll set a timer for like, is like 12 minutes cool? You guys have time? Sure, let's do that. Let's do 15 like a normal person. So you're gonna outline it, and then you're gonna just start putting in details. And there's definitely like, there's something there, and it's gonna trip you out, like how once it starts to flow, it flows. So just let the story come out. Mine's crazy like already. But I do this all the time. So
this is cool. I like this.
It's so good for creativity and like just getting your hand moving, because it can be ridiculous. And sometimes it's really deep.
None of my art is really deep. It's always very silly.
Mine's both.
I think I have the world in mind.
I'm doing a collaborative piece with my boyfriend right now, where I'm doing the background and he's drawing on the creature, and then I'm going to paint it in while he's gone, because he has to take off. When I get back, he has to take off.
Hey guys, I have to go back to work actually. My alarm just went off, so. It's like
nice
really something's wrong with my sound too. I can barely hear anything. It's weird. But thanks for letting me crash for a little while.
It was nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you guys too.
Bye, Tiff.
Bye-bye.
I like this exercise.
Fun. And I like that the light from the projector finally went off, so it's not my eyeballs anymore. I was thinking about getting up and turning it off, but then I'm like, I don't want to mess with their equipment.
Wait, you didn't go get prizes?
No, I didn't go get prizes.
Here.
I do not need their prizes.
We should do trivia one of these times and like give a prize to the person that can get the trivia right about the troubled teen industry.
Totally.
Just make sure it's sunk in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm waiting to see
the most in like best way to get people engaged and interested to pay attention to it. Because I feel like a panel of so many different arrays of the same type of abuse can be kind of just like, I don't know, Matt, you know how like a lot of us like
attention span.
The word attention span, but also like dissociate, almost like our brain just shuts off from like paying attention anymore, like completely just space cadet.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that can happen to audience members. So like keeping them like with a reason to be interested, like periodically. That's the only way I made it through my academy for 7 weeks, honestly.
I was watching them, and there definitely were some people dissociating in the audience.
Just the blank stare, like they're looking at you, but you know their brain is not anywhere in their head right now.
Yep, there were some people that were triggered. There was one lady that told me about why she was triggered, and it was a lot.
Did it have anything to do with what I said?
with the hearing that she just told me it was really, really eye-opening, and then she told me why, but what she told me was pretty personal, so I'm not going to repeat it.
Okay. Oh yeah, because I know I don't know who has maybe family members that are in situations like that or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was a lot for that person, and
Well,
I kind of had a preview in a couple of the sessions that I was in yesterday, so it was a lot for some people that heard that, and some of them came today, so
Gotcha.
I think we got our message out, and I'm just, some of these people are people that are well connected to other people, so I'm expecting more invitations for us to talk.
Well, I do hope that is the end goal outcome at the very end of everything, that it opens more doors.
Yeah.
Like if I it was the first time I was hearing about this, I would want to know what so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, I can't imagine, like, some people probably couldn't even process everything they heard to even begin where their brain might have a question.
I could do it. I think a lot of us like I would come home and like read my journals from when I was in the T.T.I for years, and I would totally forget about that shit. I'd be like, and then I would totally forget it happened, and again, and it was like a weird, like, I don't know.
It's weird how like suddenly circuits start connecting again almost, and then you can recall again.
But I would love to facilitate like an art activity for stuff like that. That's where I thrive. I'm like getting people to participate, live art, doing like I'm like I can have that kind of cruise ship energy sometimes, but like
you know what you should consider in wherever you live? You should look into kind of like what they were saying for like youth services or whatever. If you could become like an art therapist or something in like a lockdown facility or something like that.
A year-long contract going into one of the only place that I went that was beneficial. And it's like a college campus that has all different levels of care, like everything do like short-term, intensive, psychiatric, like they can still walk around the campus. Like I go in there and I facilitate art stuff.
That's awesome.
I need to do more of it though, because I just realized that the company I'm working for is awesome, but they rely on volunteer artists a lot, and I don't want to support that. I want to be working independently, and I want to be traveling and doing this in different places. And I have like this whole interactive project, and but I can't fill out a form, so I'm great at talking.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that.
If I had a business partner, dude, I mean, it would be like I've gone so many different places and like facilitated like the What's in Your Heart and just different like art activities. I think it's really important to get people like multi-sensory involved in things.
Yeah.
I can't, I'm not stimulated in like multiple ways. I don't remember. And I think like, I don't know. Yeah. People want to participate in things and be part of something, and they tend to like want to photograph it and remember it and sometimes even share it. And that's cool.
I love that. That's so dope. I wish you would come to New York City and like do something like in Central Park or something.
Yeah, place. I'll do it. I had an art show out there, and I did a mural. Something.
I feel like you would do so well in New York City. Like you could just be out there all day doing art stuff. And like New Yorkers would stop and be interested. That's the greatest thing.
Yeah. Well, if I make it out there, I'll let you know. Maybe I can come into your place or something and do something.
Yeah, we could have like a weekend or whatever of adventures.
I still have to
thing that New Yorkers don't do. We don't actually explore our own city. Like I barely get to like have a social life when I'm like not working or on comp. Like I don't even know half of what there is to do in New York, honestly, these days, because I'm not a kid anymore.
I'm like about LA. I just found out my favorite, like the only bar I really liked going to, because it's like quiet and darker and like whatever. It's not a chaos. It just became like a TikTok bar.
Oh God.
It's like
I've never been to New York except for in the airport.
Really? Like never gotten out of the airport?
Never left the airport. No, I've only seen the Statue of Liberty from the airplane.
Oh my goodness. No, you got to get out of the airport and come to New York.
I had an unexpected layover once, but it was in the middle of the night and I had my luggage with me. And so I'm like, no, I can't go explore the city with my suitcases. That's not a thing. So.
Oh yeah. We should have a survivor meetup in New York City.
I'm down.
I'm actually planning one at the end of July.
Yes.
I was just going to say, since you're up that way, I have a couple people up in New York that I want to run into, and a couple others that I want to meet first time. So yeah, I
Yeah.
was actually putting the plan to set one up at the end of July after I get back from the reunion.
That's
It
dope.
has to
I
wait
keep
till
seeing you
next
post
year.
about them.
I'd have to
Huh?
wait till next year because I have too much time off already planned this year.
Ah,
How are we doing on the drawings? We want to like show each other. Do you feel complete?
I never feel complete because I have perfection issues, but
Make it bad. Okay, wait, let's talk about it. What is it? Let's start with Wendy Ann.
So I just found the eyes of this little guy that my mom used to make these characters out of the letters of names. And so this was the little Wendy bug. And so I found the little Wendy bug and started drawing the little Wendy bug.
I love it.
This.
I like the ice cream cone.
Okay, Rachel.
Which way did it go? This way. What I ended up seeing is like eyes looking over the world.
Wait, will you bring it closer?
It's not like a complete being or anything, but I kind of saw like a face kind of like overlooking the world.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I like that it's pink too.
Yeah, all I had was a highlighter. I was like, oh, this is cute.
That's like the thing that was like working with what you have and having like no perfectionism, because like that's what this is for me. I do it all the time. Jordan?
I'm gonna actually try and start doing this every day. This is actually really cool.
Cool.
oh yeah,
Jordan, did you finish?
yeah. But I don't think you can actually see it.
This looks so detailed.
It's a fucking.
Look at
It's hella
that.
hard to see. It's a fucking wizard though.
How is that?
It's a
It
wizard.
kind of reminds me of stained glass, like picturing art.
Cool.
Yeah.
You
I
got
like
everyone here did a really good job doing it. People are sometimes like the 3 dots doesn't mean shit. It's just to see like to make people pause and like see how much they freak out or like, well, where, how big, like should
I
the
was actually
No,
gonna
I was
interview
about to ask those
Ricky, does it
questions. I was
matter
about
which
to
way?
yeah. Wait, this is mine. This is my. I have a little guy escaping from a snake's mouth.
I love it.
That's awesome.
Wait, that's really cool.
Really funny. Little guy first, and there was a bunch of different ways I turned this, and I was like, that kind of looks like a snake. And then this one, it was up. So
That is
That's
so
awesome.
That's cool.
So the 3 dots and the 3 lines are just to get people to start making marks on the paper, right?
I like this. I like this.
it's like the key is like, because you don't think about moving. It's so hard to think about like moving your wrist and then your elbow, and like the marks are going to be
Separating your bodies. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I call it a triple game. This is like what I like to do.
I was using a super soft pencil, so the marks were really dark with my wrist, and then they got lighter and lighter.
Will you guys take photos and put them in the chat? I want to be able to see the details.
Okay.
Whenever. I mean, you don't have to do it now. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'll send it to you later because I'm on the webcam in the chat
Oh, I
room.
forgot you're recording this still.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I forgot we were recording this whole time.
no, but I am gonna be cutting out the part the
You're gonna edit, like-
the drama part.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, we're not gonna have that in there.
yeah. I'm gonna cut that out, but everything else is gonna be in the video. So
Like
this
conversation.
this end conversation will be in there, but I'm not gonna include anything that's gonna be drama on either side.
Scandalous.
You know what I
I
mean?
appreciate that. I like the campfiring after, though. I think that's important because
Yeah.
it lets people know that like we're here for each other. We're here to debrief what we talked about, and we came together and we talked to a bunch of strangers about our cause, our mission, and then here we are taking care of each other afterwards.
Yeah. And some of you I haven't seen since prom in person. So this is actually really cool. I hate that we're all like so spread out, but this is cool. We need to do this like regularly.
I haven't seen anybody in person since prom. So,
Oh man, no. I
Yeah.
only got to run into who was it came out. I think when they did the NYC of the Kids Are Not All Right documentary, a bunch of people came out. So that was like the only other time I've seen them again since prom.
Rocky did a meetup in my backyard in the city right next to me, but he did it on a day I was working, so I didn't get to meet up with those people. And then when Ian was out, we were supposed to get together, and we just never made any plans. And honestly,
Yeah, I got so overbooked during that. It was so hard to push an extra time.
that Sunday and Monday, I was in bed the whole weekend anyway. I was so tired.
It happens. It happens.
Yeah, there was a couple people I wasn't able to get side meetups with. It's yeah, I wish I had more time for it. Another round though will happen.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully you can spend more time in Seattle next time.
Yeah, next time what I'm already looking to do next time I come up that way is I just want to kind of hit each state for a couple of days and then move
Yeah.
along instead of one day runs.
Yeah, that'll be dope.
Oh, folks, I'm freezing and starving, so I'm gonna pop out. Stay in the
Okay.
room as long as you want to stay in the room, but I'm gonna go.
Okay.
Have a good rest of the
Bye.
day.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna make Jordan host, and I'm gonna run away.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Have a good one, guys. I gotta get to Western Union before they close.
Oh, the kitty. I see the kitty.
All right. Should we just end?